There's 3 steps you should have completed as you walked in the door. The first step was for you to log into workday.byu.edu. So if you're on your computer workstation and you haven't done that yet, open your browser and log into workday.byu.edu, okay? So you should have a browser up on your screen. Go ahead and type this web address and go to the training page for HRBP and operations. That will take you to this link, BYU 11, where you can open and see the tenant that we're using today. Yes, BYU has 11 tenants that we're using. Also grab an activity guide. If you don't have one yet, there's one here. We'll be using it through our session today. If you've missed the previous session, hopefully you watched the recordings. I know that sometimes the audio goes in and out, so we apologize for that, but you'll see great content there. The slides are super useful. We've typed in all the information that we think is necessary as we facilitate, and that combined with the activity guides should lead you along. If you need to go through the activities, you may need us to help move things along because you aren't everybody at BYU. There's other roles who play a part in each of the business processes, okay? So if you got stopped somewhere along the way, I promise we can help move you forward. Today, you have had content staged for you and you are starting with a new person. So if you missed any of the other weeks, as long as you didn't go in your inbox and just clear it out, you will find things today. If you don't, or haven't seen that, then I will launch them for you in a little bit or longer, okay? So we're starting fresh today. You don't need to worry about any previous candidates that you created or requisitions that went bad, and that's the exciting part. All right. Here's what we're going over today. Hire and onboarding. If I were taking an assessment, I might be asked the question, how many waves of onboarding are there? And on the screen...
Okay, so when you say that, that means that's going to be a question.
You got it. 1, 2, 3 waves of onboarding are included, okay? Not 4, not 6, not 1. 3 waves of onboarding.
Waves, not waves.
Waves. Like the hurricane. Wow. If you've been watching the news, terrible.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
I have friends in Disney World.
9 feet high, 10 feet high. I'm like, so I have a lot of coworkers. So we are a global company. We started as just US, and then we went global, and then we got acquired. So for Cognizant, and I have lots of colleagues who live in Florida, North Carolina, Georgia, all along the coast, and I'm like, so they're all impacted, all of them. So they're all offline today. They get a day off, but not for a great reason. So, correct worker start date is where we'll continue at the end of our course today, because do you ever have anybody in your department who starts on a different day than you thought they would? Okay, so we included that today. Today we have traded Molly for Jill. So Jill's hiding over here in the corner. If you have any questions, the whole day, I'll just make sure Jill's listening, okay? No, I'll be addressing most of your questions today, but Jill's here to help pepper in as she has more content. Martin was here and Carl yesterday. These are some really important people for you, right? If you are an HR business partner, you'll call Carl when you have a question, okay? So make sure, grill him as soon as we go live for all the things that you need done. Martin is the HR operations lead. A lot of the processes that we're working through in the last few weeks go to Martin for approval, okay? Or Martin's team helps move forward. So we'll talk about some of those today. Before we begin, the safe harbor statement. I'll introduce myself. If I haven't seen you in a previous session, my name is Spence Wagner. If you're joining from a different day that I didn't facilitate Thursday, welcome. I'm excited to be here. I'm from Taylor, Arizona. I originally from Las Vegas, Nevada, lived there a long time. So they announced a new temple in Vegas a couple years back, right? And that's right where I live. And I thought, oh man, I missed it. So we have a holiday home in Queen Creek, and they just announced that temple. So my background today is feeling the love for Queen Creek, and I'll be there later this afternoon. So that's actually their olive mill, so it feels very poetic about the scriptures and all those things. You can head and go to that olive press and see it right in person. They make oils and serve food. It's really cool. Okay, joining us as well as Lauren. Say hello, Lauren.
Hi, everyone.
We've been glad to travel together for the last 2 weeks. Also, we each know people who live here. So in the evenings, we've been able to catch up with others. Last night I was in Mona. You've been to Mona? That was quite a drive. It's like, when am I getting there? It was like, turn right in a million miles. Okay. And the speed kept going up and up. I'm like, oh man, we are out here. So I watched a football game. They lost, but we shared some ice cream afterwards. So it was very fun. So remember, what you see today is not what's necessarily going to be a go live, although we think it's about 95% accurate, right? So you may log in as you're completing onboarding and see that you have an incorrect address, or that you report to the wrong manager, or that maybe the people that you are supporting are misaligned to what you've made a decision on in the last couple weeks. This data was taken in August, so that's what it's from, and that's when it was. So just know, if you make any updates to the system today, it won't go anywhere else. We're going to throw away this tenant when we're done with it, okay? So we're going to crumple it up, and we'll get a new one to replace it. Once you go live, there will be a training tenant and a sandbox tenant, but you'll have production. So that's where you'll spend most of your time. Okay?
So is there anything that we can enter and work? I know officially everything goes live January 1st.
Yeah.
But is there anything that we can enter in before then that will stick?
There's not.
Just kind of personal stuff, or just things we know about people, or?
Nope. If you need to make an address update or information update, you'll need to make it in PeopleSoft, because what we'll do when we start the data loads for the last tenant, they'll pull them straight from PeopleSoft. So if it's accurate there, it'll be accurate here. So if you need to reorganize a department or change people's names or your address, that all should happen in PeopleSoft first.
So everything we do until here and until December 31st will be completely washed away.
Yep, it's like a whiteboard. We're just gonna take a towel and wipe right over it.
Okay, so for student hiring, will that go from PeopleSoft into Workday with all of our student hires?
You got it.
So we don't have to manually redo it. Whatever's in there on December 16th, or whatever that cutoff is what's going into Workday.
Yeah, thanks for the teaser. So these dates here, the last e-form is to be executed on December the 13th. So anything done after that doesn't go anywhere into PeopleSoft or Workday. I'm kidding. So there is an interim exception for small cases, and you can talk with your business partner to work through that. But that is the last date for any version of e-forms to be executed, okay? So you will not need to do in both systems or any business like that, right? That's not what we're talking through. You'll get more detailed emails about this cutover, but just know that that is the last date that you should execute it. So if you need someone hired on December the 21st, you could have them start December the 1st, or at least have all their information entered and their start date as that date, right? So just think through that process and how you want to do it. Have them start, but don't have them work any hours. However you want to manage that, but push the hire earlier or push it after go live.
Yeah, and to that, if that doesn't happen by December 13th, they won't be able to clock in and work. So
it's usually a bummer, right? So then it's super manual entry after that. That sounds terrible.
If we wait till January 1, how long is it gonna take for HR to process, hire?
Oh, so they determined the SLAs, so you'll be getting more information about the service level agreements and how long it takes, but
Okay.
expect standard times that
Okay.
you have now. Know that anything can happen. I went live with Workday. We had 30,000 people check their pay stub at the same second. So Workday was like, oh, we didn't plan for that. So we had to turn off checking your pay stub for a few days. So just know we may experience some things like that, but I don't anticipate any for BYU. That was when Workday was still a toddler. Okay, it wasn't a baby, but it was a toddler.
So we have a specific issue in our department where we have student employees that are hourly employees in fall, and then they go on contract in winter semester. But they are going to be hourly employees through finals, so they are going to hit that, they're going to be working past that cutoff. And then I will have 1 week to get their hires finalized so that they can teach classes in their graduate students in winter semester. So I guess like the turnaround question, I'm thinking about that like with some anxiety, because I'm gonna have to have these 6 contracts go through extremely quickly.
Yeah. When is your we go live December the 21st. When does the semester begin for winter?
The 6th of January.
Okay. So yes, that is a bit of a crunch time.
Yeah.
So work with your business partner. There are ways to expedite processes. So work with them if you have this high volume. If we're talking 10 people, you know, that's different than 100, right? Okay?
Yeah.
So work with your business partner directly. They'll work with Carl and the operations team to be ready, okay?
So I could start initiating those contracts as soon as December 21st.
Yes,
That's less scary. I think we can handle that.
yeah. We're calling it a soft go live because everything's live on December the 21st, but we're not doing the big rah parade on that day. It's going to be January 1st because we feel like that parade will be like, I live by two towns, Snowflake and Taylor, and the Snowflake Parade is very busy, Pioneer Day, it's huge. And then the Taylor Parade is 25 minutes long, okay? So we didn't want the Taylor Parade, we want the Snowflake Parade, so that's it. So you can start them on December the 21st.
All right.
Yeah.
So that's not understanding, but you're saying I can start my January.
Correct, yep, Workday is live for all people.
I'm going to have.
Yeah. The TA example is what we're showing today, so you'll see that.
Spencer,
How, I want to know how that's working with students. And I heard that this is what process. Is this gonna let me know they need an I-9? If I
Yes.
send them to get their I-9 and student employment says, well, we don't have all the paperwork on our end yet.
Got it.
What's that gonna be?
So let's talk about this. The question was, if I could repeat it, we have TAs, 100, that need to be hired in our department. We're going to be showing that use case today and going through the exercise so that you see what it's like. You'll also be able to identify, so write little notes to yourself of things that you'll nudge student employment and things that you'll nudge the student, okay? But you can initiate those starting on December the 21st. You can initiate 100 of them, okay? The process isn't going to take you 3 weeks to enter, right? Because if they're all an active student in the system, a lot of their information will pull in. Their onboarding is very clear what it needs, and the I-9 is also clear and all in Workday. So as long as they go in and populate the information fully, they won't get stopped as much. The I-9 team, that student employment office, was in our training yesterday, right? Martin and his team, and they saw how the process went from start to finish, and they're already identifying, okay, when a student comes, we will now ask one extra question, or we'll pull up an extra screen so that they can move them through quickly. So as a for instance, if they have the start date wrong, the student employment team can correct it right then. They don't have to wait. They can correct the I-9, they can correct the start date, and the student will leave. So it will speed up some of these processes that maybe have had these artificial blocks along the way. Okay.
Spencer, can I just say one thing is we are encouraging though for recruiting and hiring. The communication that you're gonna receive is that we're not in the system doing those things until January 2nd. And like Spencer said, if you are, you need to be working with your business partner because Program Granite is still gonna be maybe cleaning up some things and making sure everything is ready to roll with the big parade. And so don't plan to get in there on the 21st and do a whole bunch of stuff. That's kind of the emergency route. That's the communication that will be going out.
Well, and it's a Saturday, let's be clear. Okay, so that's a Saturday.
It's Christmas.
And it's right before Christmas. So think about some of these things. The TAs, if you know this information earlier in the month, you could enter this information earlier in the month, right? So we don't have to postpone. If you don't, work with your business partner and let's figure out how them and the operations specialist can support you, right? Do we need more people to come help you through this process? Do student employment need to take a half day and focus on just those hires? You know, we can talk through those things. Okay?
Can I ask you a question about that? So is student employment aware then that they can hires early or December? Or does it make sense that we do go ahead and start?
Yes.
they're okay. Because
Yes.
before they've always told us, no, we need to wait until like 2 weeks before they get to start.
Yeah.
They're good with us hiring in early December.
They saw the same slide. So for that case, if you need to hire them, but they won't start for a while, you need to talk with them about what that means and make sure that they're good because of your department. So it's not a blanket, anybody submit anything as much as you want on December the 1st. They still have some controls in place. So you'll need to work through your HR partner with the operations center to make sure they're aware, right?
I probably missed that.
Yeah, no.
Spencer, because of this wall, it's really hard to hear the questions. I wondered if you could repeat the question.
Yeah, her question was the same. She has a lot of people, so you're saying I can just put 100 new hires on December the 1st and no red tape will exist. And that's not necessarily true. She didn't say it that way, but you want to work through your HR partner to make sure the Student Employment Office is aware they're about to get 100 students stopping by when they don't start for a month. What's that all about? Well, you'll have to actually start them legally on that day. So is it that they complete training or an orientation or whatever, and then they don't work for a month? That's okay. You know, you need to work through your partner to talk through that. But that's what Jill's really encouraging, is that kind of process and conversation. Okay. All right. Security today, HR, business partner, and operations specialist. Okay. So we'll be talking through what that looks like, and some of the roles you both play, and some of the roles that are a little divided. Okay. If you don't have security, scan that QR code and tell someone who can make a change for you. This task has been removed from my implementer account. I cannot add security. So you can tell me all you want. I don't have the security to change your security. Okay. They did that on purpose because they want it to flow through the correct channel. Also, maybe they've made updates in the source tenant. BYU 11 is not the source tenant. Nothing's being copied from it. Nothing's being taken away from it as like the source of truth. If you were given security in it, it doesn't mean that you had security somewhere else, right? So we're trying to clean all of that up. So when we ask for security, they want to know if this is now for just today or if it's forever, right? And then they're putting it in both places, right? So that's the difference. I think during COE trainings, we would say, oh, you don't have it, and we would just click and you had it, okay? We're not doing that anymore, because we want to make sure at Go Live you actually have it. That would be worse, okay? Here are the 3 things. I already talked about this. Your Training Hub website, if you need anything from before, it's there. Recordings from previous weeks or other sessions. Maybe you think I told Martin's session some big secrets, okay? You could go listen to Martin's session, I suppose. Okay. We went through positions, job catalog, requisition, job posting, recruiting, and now we're on to the hire, right? I say it like that very intentionally. The hire changes teams that support it. It changes the COE responsible. It changes the work stream that's in charge and has made assignments. So this is a handoff. It's no longer in that niche space, it's in the LoRa space, okay? Some are a little bit blurry in the middle, but most of it is a clear definition of time and teams. So we'll go through the hire step and we'll talk about onboarding. We already talked about other things that we covered. How are you feeling as of today? Just take a moment and think about this. Here's some feelings expressed on the screen. I guess I could have done one. You've seen those on the fridge where it's all the emotions, kind of like the first emojis, right? And you move the magnet around to how you were feeling that day so your family would know when they got milk or cereal. Oh, okay, Dad's so frustrated, okay. So this is our emoji screen here. Think in your mind where you're falling. Are you excited? Are you confused? Are you anxious? Do you feel like the change is more gradual than expected? Are you frustrated? Or have there been false starts? And if so, here's a little equation that might help you do some self-service, a little self-awareness. If you feel confused about the change, it could be that you don't understand the vision. And this is something that I would really want you to think about. When we go through a step today, I will tell you, managers are required. You can't skip the step and no one else can do it. And the first thing you might want to say to me is, why are managers involved? I have faculty, they don't like touching computers, they just like standing at boards and teaching and all the things, okay? Just know that step is not changeable. So let's go back and understand why we would do that, right? So think back to the project goals, what the hope was to do and accomplish, and why we might include that step. I'm not going to bury the lead. We want managers to be more involved in the onboarding of new people that work for them. Okay? So they are more involved. That is the principle behind it. Okay? Anxiety. If you're feeling some anxiety about the change, maybe it's that you don't have the skills necessary. We have had a couple in this room who, using the web browser is new. They've not had enough experience to feel confident using this unfamiliar web browser. I think we're using Edge on these computers. Maybe they're used to Chrome and it was a huge change to them. Or maybe they're unfamiliar with software that's loaded in this way in the cloud. Reporting that works like this. They're used to tables and joins, and now it's just run the report. So know that if you're missing some skills, let's talk about that. Work with your HR business partner to say, I still feel a skill gap in my knowledge and understanding. We are working on taking the content that you've seen over these 3 plus 2 more weeks and breaking them into bite-sized pieces so that you can understand them. Whether that's a video or e-learning, we're still in conversations about, but if you want to look at the onboarding process, that it would just be onboarding, that one piece, and it would show you the steps that are necessary, okay? So that's a future date coming down the road, but we have recognized that that would be really handy when we go live. Incentive. This is if you're feeling the change is gradual. So maybe you were in COEs and they started in June, May, right? They were early in the summer. And now you're here again for a training and there's an assessment coming. So what we want you to know is that this is going to be really positive, I think, in many ways, and also be hard. Change is individual. Each of you are moving through this change on your own, although we're in a big training room together today, right? So think about what is an incentive for you to make this change. And if you can't think of what that is, let's talk more. If you're feeling frustrated, you may not have the resources that you need. So you mentioned, I'm hiring 100 TAs, it's on a certain day. Do you need another person in your department to help you? Do you need central HR, right? The unified partner group? Do they need to help you in that time? They're not hiring 100 TAs, right? Because you're a collaborative unit, can they step in and help you through that process as well? They can make those initiations, okay? And then false starts. Hopefully you have a clear picture of the action plans. After these 5 weeks finish, you'll receive an assessment, right? The assessment is not in the testing center, open note, open book, right? It's just not Open Neighbor and you can't call me to ask questions or Lauren. So just know that you have a plan forward to take that assessment. There is the SDM, Service Delivery Model, PDR, Production Dress Rehearsal, that is occurring or will in the future. There's a dry run planned, there's a group assessment. There's lots of things coming your way, but in the end, you have training, you have the cutover, and you have go live. Those are the big buckets that are happening from now to the end of the year, right? So if there's any data, cleanup or catch up, that's part of cutover. If there's any assessments, that's part of our action plans to train. So hopefully you're not feeling any false starts at this point. Maybe earlier in our process you did. Okay, let's go back in time. These questions you might find on something that would assess your knowledge. How do internal candidates apply for a job at BYU? At GoLive. Say that again? Did you say Y jobs?
Yeah, that job board.
That's the old way. December the 21st. I want to apply for a job, however. Jobs Hub, did I hear it? Yes. You're welcome. Start the day off right. I think there's like Crispies in there. It's basically breakfast. Okay. Jobs Hub. They would log into Workday and they would find the Jobs Hub. Why jobs won't exist? There may be a redirect or something like that. I don't know about all that, but Jobs Hub in Workday is where they would find it. Okay. Can you renegotiate a staff offer in Workday? When do renegotiations take place?
Before you fill out the form.
Yeah, so before we get to the offer letter and we're populating it all and going around to different approvals, you want to have talked to the candidate and they should have given you a verbal, yeah. Okay, because we don't, for staff, on the regular, renegotiate that offer. Different for faculty, they get the one renegotiation point, right? But for staff, if they say no to the offer, we'll decline them as a candidate and we'll move forward, okay? What occurs when a candidate is moved into the ready for hire stage? So that means we've already gotten an offer back, they've signed the offer, and we've moved them to ready for hire. Workday does two things automatically. What are they? Say that again. Background checks already happened. That already went. We got clearance, ecclesiastical. All the interviews are done.
That's at 5.
We narrowed it down to this one candidate. They said yes. It notifies the other candidates automatically and it unposts the job. Okay. So we're going to make sure it's taken down and all the candidates are notified. So you should call anyone you interviewed so they get the heads up. Yesterday it was asked. Last week you asked the same question, but they're going to get this automated response. Correct. So when you call them, you say, hey, just to let you know, we really appreciated you applying for BYU. We think you're a better fit for Utah State. And know that you will also get a decline in your email to officially let you know that you've been moved away from this job position. Okay? So you can just tell them right up front that they're going to be getting it. It's not a surprise. You can't turn it off unless you disposition them and you don't notify them in an earlier stage. So
Is that for faculty and staff hires, like all hires in the system?
anybody
So I'm just
that
saying
is
if
still a candidate in the queue that has not been dispositioned will be
Okay,
automatically
regardless if
dispositioned.
it's a staff or
Correct.
faculty, okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
All right, because they're considered an employee.
Correct. They'll get the same kind of thanks for no thanks. Okay. If they used a job requisition, right? Some use student hire direct, and there's no other candidates, right?
But it goes through a posting.
You got it. Okay, so we are in the hire now. We moved on from those other steps. The hiring process is actions that the manager, HR, or other support staff take to prepare the employee for their first day. Who's missing from that equation? The candidate, okay? So the candidate's not in there. Well, now they're a pre-hire, right? They're not in this process. Instead, they are in the onboarding process. That's the first time they will have a Workday account. That's the first time they have a task in Workday. Outside of the application process and accepting things, right? That was in the candidate home. So that's not real Workday, right? That's not the tenant per BYU. That's kind of an extension of Workday that moves candidates through the recruiting process, okay? So actions that an employee or a new hire take to prepare themselves for their first day. Okay, we just asked this question, so I'll reiterate it. The person has accepted the offer, Workday unposted the job, notified everybody who was on the list still, and the job requisition is filled and done, okay? So it's not open anymore, right? It's done, it's been filled, unless there are other positions available within the same requisition, right? So if you had 6 positions for student worker 1 and you only filled 1, it's not going to do anything with that job rec, or it won't be considered filled, okay? When an applicant is moved to ready for hire, the hire business process begins and you're seeing these people get some processes to start. It's the hire process, right? So for student hires, it's gonna go to the manager. Did we hear that? For student hires in a job requisition, it's gonna go to the manager. So you're saying, what about TAs? If you used a job requisition for TAs, it would all go to the manager. If not, then you're gonna see the direct hire process today, and that's how it would go, okay? So just know, the manager, if it goes through a job requisition, for student hires, they get a task to kick off the hire in the inbox, okay? For continuing ed hires, it goes to the continuing ed hiring office. Faculty goes faculty, staff goes staff. So that checks out, right?
Could you just define direct hire?
Direct hire is, I know that you are a student and I want you to be my TA and I'm gonna put a hire for you. I don't need you to apply. I don't need you to send a resume. We're not gonna create a big job offer letter. I just want you to be
Already
hired.
an existing employee.
If you're an existing employee, I'm gonna add a job because you already have a job. Oh, you already have a job. Okay, I still want you and I wanna add a job, which I can also do directly. Okay. Did that answer that question? Okay, we're gonna talk about add job next week because that is specific to someone who's already here We're also talking about changing jobs and other things like that. Okay. The hire has been approved in Workday. Yay, we mark them ready for hire. Can that worker start immediately? What are they missing? Oh, you got it. You've been trained. Okay. I'll tell Martin. You guys all got trained. You're good. Okay. We don't consider an employee ready to work until their I-9 is fully completed. That's a federal requirement. That shouldn't be a surprise if you worked in HR for any amount of time. Departments are responsible for ensuring that they complete their I-9 on time. Here's why it says departments, okay? The hiring manager's involved, you're involved, you support the department, and the worker can't start. Well, who tells the worker when they start? It's not the employment office, it's you. So your department, your manager, you supporting them should be guiding the student to not work until they complete their I-9. And I know that's a tricky responsibility because you have managers, that's faculty members who have TAs, that's someone in a space across campus from where you work that is going to have that person start,
Yeah, they are.
right? It's okay, we'll just, it'll all come out in the wash, just start today and, a week or so, whenever you have
Donate
time.
their time until they're.
Donate it, yeah, I've heard all the lines, okay?
So, because we love managers, right?
Yes.
Will they get an email, like right now, we get an email from student employment says your student's ready, hire's been executed, they can begin. Will managers give that email for those employees that they're hiring that now they can begin?
There's a notification for the I-9 completion. I don't remember all the groups that it goes to. It definitely goes to the hire themselves.
Right.
You can check the status and we'll show you where to do that. But I can't remember where this notification fires. Okay. Oh, funny you asked that question.
Sorry.
So we're gonna check the I-9 process. There is a form, or there is a report that is the Form I-9 process status. Let me put it in bold. Usually on your guides, when we put something in bold, that is the business process or the task you should complete. So the Form I-9 process status is what you would search for. All this is going to show is a summary view. If I were assessed on a test, it might be asked in this way: which of the following is a summary view of the statuses for I-9s? This only gives you a summary. You could tell that by looking at the report. On the assessment, you can actually open your tenant and just try running the report. It doesn't show me names, it doesn't show me details, it doesn't show me anything besides which step in the I-9 process they are, okay? So if you see the completion is on the left, kind of backwards, but completion is on the left, pending finalization, that's where it's in step 2 or 3 by the hiring office. In document review is step 2, and then you have overdue, which is they haven't started, okay? So just know that those are what, it's giving you a report card of a specific supervisory organization. You see the one I pulled today was for OIT, okay? It's just giving you a quick report card, a summary view of all the things. Okay, we're gonna look at the other way that you can take a look at the status of an I-9 process. That's a more detailed view for an individual, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Okay. Continuing from last week, we left off by moving our candidate to ready for hire, right? They were just before that hire step. So it's gonna go to an office because it was a staff person, right? So it should go to the staff employment office, right? Or the staff hiring office. We're going to hire our candidate and initiate onboarding. So the first person is who? Staff compensation. They're going to initiate the hire, verify the comp is right, and then it's going to go to the benefits partner. The benefits partner will edit some service dates. Then Workday will do 2 things automatically: create their Workday account so they can log into Workday, and it will assign a pay group to this individual. The HR partner then receives a task to add or manage period activity pay. If that's required, they can skip this task if it is not. And then the manager edits a welcome message and suggests people to meet. Step 5 is not negotiable. It's not changeable. It's not transferable. You can't assume the role of this manager and complete it for them, right? This is a required step on every hire, okay?
Is there a way to edit the welcome message that will be
The default for our department.
The default for 27,000 positions has been decided. So it goes to all of them the same.
Only the manager can edit it.
Only the manager can edit the field. However, you as an HR partner or HR operations specialist could say, here is the script I want you to read, right? Okay, so you can say, change the welcome message to say these things, and you can give it to them, obviously, hopefully not on a piece of paper, but you would give them a digital version to say, hey, when this comes to your inbox, paste this item into the welcome message. The reason that we did it this way is it's a welcome from the manager. So it's like, hi, welcome to BYU. The HR operations specialist had these 20 things that they wanted me to tell you. That's not a welcome from the manager, that's a welcome from HR operations through a manager, right? So this does not replace your responsibility or role to communicate with this individual through email, through a phone conversation, through a text message, however you're doing it today, that you would continue helping them through this onboarding process, okay? We'll talk more about that in just a moment, but let's go through the staff hiring office. They're going to receive an inbox item. So you're wondering, how will they know to do this? Workday will tell them, you have a hire that's ready to go. And this is some of the information about that hire. So let's take a look as I finish the hire from last week. Okay, if I head to Molly's inbox, because she's staff compensation, right? I expect that it would go to her. If I looked in the business process history, it would tell me who it went to, right? So I'm looking and I'm seeing lots of information in her inbox. Lateral move, compensation change, all this information's flowing here. I'm going to teach you just a moment about search filtering in Workday, which can be very powerful. I've heard this a couple times the last few days, right? What if I want to just see all the students that are in this status? How would I see that, right? So let's do that. We have this person who's in the higher status. I don't have a filter created right now for hire. I do have offers here. That's a filter that's been created, whether Molly did or somebody else. Okay. So I'm saying, I know it's a hire. So let me create a filter. So if you click Manage Filters here on your screen, you will see the filter is easy to create. So I'm going to say this is staff hires, okay? Now, by doing that, I need to make some additional filters. So maybe I just say hires, because I don't want to be that specific. The maximum row limit is 200, what it will give me back. And it says for all business processes. Well, that's not really a filter, is it? If it just displays everything back to you. So I need to say for business process type hire. Okay, so any hire tasks that are in my inbox will come here. I could get even more specific about a task that's in the hire, and it would have approval, attach a document, or a to-do. I don't need to do that, okay? Okay, so hires, I said it's the hire business process, and I click OK. Let's go back to my inbox now and see if this filter works. I'm looking for anyone with a hire ready to initiate. Okay, so I'm on my filter tab, and I'm clicking on hire, and there they are. Samantha staff and Stella staff are ready to go. Do you find that's helpful? 56 items down to 2. Real easy. So this might be something that you leverage after we go live. Remember, if you configure it now, it'll all go away. So you could try and practice this, but you would need to recreate these filters. This tenant will be crumpled up and thrown in the trash. Okay. So now I'm only seeing hires, and I'm only seeing it for what I wanted to. I could have done more filters. I could have done hires for students, and I said, and worker type is, or employee type is student, and it would only show me student hires. I could have added the conditions that said, and worker type is staff, and it would only show me staff. My feeling on filters is keep them as high level as they can be. That gets you to narrow information. The more specific you get, you're going to filter out things that you might not intend. So you might forget that that was student hires, and then none of your staff hires are going to come in your box. Okay? They'll still come in there, they just will be filtered out. This filter will apply the next time I log into Workday, so just be careful about that too. And it will say filtered on hires. Okay, here's my revised employee hire. Now we started this from a job requisition, so we would expect that there's a lot of information already included here, and there is. The hire date is included. Wait a minute. This is about to go to the student employment office, and it's gonna say 9:30. Today is 10:10. Oh, my mom's birthday, I better call her. Okay. I was like, why does that date sound so familiar? 10:10. So we need to at least edit it to today. We don't know if that hire is starting today. It's Molly Craghead, right? She doesn't work in your department. She's not in the English department, like at the doors waiting to see who's clocking in for the day, right? So she's taking her best guess based on what you have said as the person who created the job requisition and what the manager included in the offer, right? So I'm gonna say at least today. You could change it to Monday if all hires for that department start on Monday and she feels like, yep, we start most people Mondays, she could select Monday. But for today, I'm gonna say right now, because of events, it might postpone some things happening until the 14th, okay? So for our intents and purposes today, I'll just say today. The reason is to hire the employee to fill a vacancy. This is an optional field. If it's not optional, it would flag an alert for me to complete. Okay, we have training staff 1, staff, and we have the Crabtree Technology Building. This is where, if Molly knows where this person's working, you could adjust this location right now. It's likely to say general campus at this point, so they could pick the department's building, the music building, right? And that's where it would say this employee's working. We've chosen Crabtree because I know that building the best, and it's going to give me the filter for Crabtree spaces 415 CTB, okay? If you don't see a workspace here, that's something you would create a case for. Hey, my building, it hasn't listed all my workspaces. Can we get this added to the tenant? And that's an after-go live thing, okay? This tenant, again, doesn't have all the updated information. It was a snapshot as of August, and we continue to load data. Okay. Now, Molly may not know any of this information, and she to change the location after the hire is complete, and that's fine, okay? But try and get it accurate on your requisition, because that's better than Molly's guess here, right? So start with the right information, and you move right information through. The job profile has been selected. I cannot adjust the job title or the business title. It's locked in. If I wanted to adjust that, it would be when I created the position or when I went through the offer process, right? Other times, can I change these values? Now it's locked in. You can change this value, and we'll talk about it next week, how to do it. Simple business process with simple approvals, okay? The working type is full-time. This is staff. I would expect to see that. If it were a part-time worker and you needed to make this change, you could do that now. And the service dates. It doesn't allow me to edit this information. Sometimes on some hires it will, like a student hire. So just know, leave these alone. You shouldn't be adjusting these, and we'll move forward. The benefits service partner, or the benefits service date, will be edited by the benefits partner, right? And they know. If you put the start date at 10/10, then they're going to go adjust that benefits date to whatever it needs to be for benefits. Okay, so we've moved that first step through. We've started our hire. We are in this process. We would expect now to see a proposed compensation hire step to come to this staff position. Guess what? It's populating from the offer. This is why it's important that you negotiate things and chat with that manager before they key in the details. If they go edit the offer letter and they change the number to a higher number, it will not flow here. This is the real, okay? This is what goes to payroll to pay them on their first pay date. So this is the accurate number that matters, not what was in the offer hand keyed. It was only what was submitted as the offer process, and then the offer should have maintained that same information and been submitted forward. Good news is that submission of the offer letter goes to Molly, so she did not edit it. She didn't take a whiteout and then write it in. She used what was defaulting from Workday, as you should. Okay? That's why you can't renegotiate once that step is initiated. So all the details are included here, including all of their pay, allowance plans, merit, and so forth. If you needed to add more because you forgot, because it's a faculty hire and they should have been on a different basis or had an allowance plan, Molly or the faculty hiring office could add that now. Okay? We're trying to get it right all through the process because this is payroll impacting. So that's why it goes up to that compensation office to help you with this process. Okay? So let's look in our inbox. We still have that other hire because I have a filter going. If we look at our archive, let's see where it went. Okay. Did you notice Workday assigned a pay group for Samantha staff? I didn't do that. Okay, we're moving forward to the other person. If so, let's take a look at. Did I do Samantha staff? Oh yeah. Oops. I was supposed to do Stella, but I guess I chose Samantha. I did do Stella? Let's see. Let me use my filter. It's whoever's not in my inbox. Oh, I did Samantha. Well, you know. I like Stella. I'm a fan of How I Met Your Mother, that show. Okay. So if I go to the archive, you'll notice, let's look at the process for assigned pay group. Hey, automatic complete, not required to review it. So Workday's doing some things in the background as part of our business process, we told you. But hey, weren't there some other steps? Yes, I am looking at the assigned pay group for hire step. It's not active. Automatic complete. This is in my archive. This is my archive. I went to my backlog, my archive. So it says automatic complete not required, and it says the process is successfully completed. But wait, aren't there more steps after the compensation person? It's supposed to go to a benefits person, some other things, right? That's because this is the overall process, hire. It's very important to keep track of this, right? That's why we've included these slides for you. It's really handy so that you'll remember, hey, look at the overall business process, and it will give you those details. Hey, what's left here? We could have had a background check if we were doing a direct hire, right? But we are not. So it's saying it went all the way through and forward to max manager, okay? That's what I would expect to see. Okay? So let's continue in our presentation now. We have hire journeys for the other two types of workers. We have the hire journey for faculty positions. Guess who's the first person on that list? Faculty compensation, right? Because they want to make sure that we got this right. They're going to look at the offer letter that was generated. They're going to look at the offer that was initiated. They're going to look ask what's communicated in the system. This is a checkpoint to make sure everything's right before we commit this to payroll and they get paid this amount. Remember last week we put $60 an hour for an hourly worker, student worker one? This is the point that they could say, hey, we need to go back and rescind and reissue another offer letter because they cannot make $60 an hour, okay? So there are checkpoints along the way. If you've made tons of mistakes and allowed things to go over the range, this is still another checkpoint that we can fix it, okay? So faculty compensation initiates this process. They verify the comp. Benefits partner edits the service dates as appropriate. Faculty comp gets it again to generate that document and to add an academic appointment as necessary as we're looking ahead. Academic appointment is an important field in Workday. Should BYU choose to move to Workday student, that academic appointment feeds to many other places in student. But for a higher ed in human capital management, we need that value to say you are the leader or you work within an academic unit, which is important to you, colleges and departments. Okay? The automated system does those two steps, which we already saw. The HR partner manages the period activity pay. So that's you. You would get that step to manage their period activity pay. And then the chair. Are we seeing number 6? The chair gets a welcome message. Okay, it's true of all faculty. Okay, so this is a bottleneck at the chair's position. So we're going to time the activity, the task that it takes for the chair to complete. I heard that there was not enough time in their day or that they didn't focus their energy on computers, whatever the reason was. So we're going to take a stopwatch and we're going to time my process today, okay? Adjunct hiring step goes a little bit differently. You have the ready for hire, right? Then you get faculty compensation to revise the faculty hire. That's the same. Then the HR operations specialist can submit the period activity pay, and the approval for that pay goes to the chair, okay? Then it's back to faculty compensation for an approval, creating a contract, approving the contract by the applicant themselves, and then we move forward into the other steps, okay? Yep.
Can I just add something to that? You'll notice that on the number 5, it's grayed out. In today's world, those EPAFs do go to the dean and a bunch of other people for approval. And we have found that the deans aren't involved in those approvals. And so going forward in Workday, the decision has been made that those approvals are going to stop at the chair level for the adjunct period activity pay approval. So I just wanted to call out that difference.
Sure. This might be an opportunity for you to have a strategic conversation with the dean at the beginning and end of a year about positions available, strategy for hiring, things that you might do now or may want to do more of. You can have those conversations early so that dean has awareness, but because they're not involved in the approval process. So they won't get something in their inbox that says, we're getting another adjunct, right? You've already had some of those conversations. That's the direction of a HR business partner, right? If you're in the room and that's your title, you might be wondering, what are some of the things that I should be doing? It's conversations like this outside of work.
I'm not always able to discern if this is a desired next step or this is a required next step to consider. So our last one, Greg came in and with the chair. Is that what happen each time I hire a manager? If I'm rehiring that, what's the contract for all? And I put in the contract solutions to the process and it ends up now the chair has to send some.
Okay, so the example case was you have a worker who works in the fall as an adjunct, and they come next fall and they work as an adjunct. Even winter, the next semester, okay? So you get a new contract, but you're not submitted through onboarding because you've completed onboarding. So you're gonna get another contract to your box, but you're not starting all the onboarding steps that would continue. So the contract is very specific when you're adding a contract, and it's a sub-business process of the hire. So this is for the hire, you're brand new, you've never been an adjunct for me before, and it's following these steps. If you're just adding a contract, we're looking at these steps that started with the create contract and moving forward. Onboarding setups also matter. That's another.
Is there a set time that adjuncts are active? Like right now, you can take a semester off as long as you've gotten a paycheck within 11 months. You're an active adjunct. You don't have to retire. Is there anything like that?
Yeah, how many of you want to keep the 11-month rule, where if someone works within the 11 months, they...
I was gonna say, I would like to move to 14 months.
I just wanted to feel like Oprah. The 11-month rule is still around, okay? So nothing changed with that. If within the last 11 months you had a pay cycle that was paid to you, you're still in Workday. If you pass the 11 months, you're out, and you have to start all the way through. That's how that works. If you are benefits eligible, and you move past that 11-month period, it still goes to the 2 years, so that they can bring back the service date. That's why that step goes to the benefits person, to say, well, they are a new hire, but they were here before, and so that's what they'll work to make fixes for the benefits. Okay. Great question. You almost got me to feel like Oprah for a second. You get a card, you get a card. Okay, 11-month rule is still here. Hire journey for student positions. The manager can initiate the process. You can too. Verify, that's for a direct hire, but for the hire that came from a job requisition, the manager gets this step, okay? So requisition occurred, manager gets the step, initiate the process, verify the compensation, then it goes through Workday's automated processes, and they get a step right back to set up the onboarding, okay? So just know that anybody that you put through the requisition process, that should not be a direct hire student, because it has a lot more steps. So you should be doing this for, of course, students of a different nature. Like here at Program Granite, they post the job, they need a special set of skills, they need to make sure this person comes, and we didn't identify these already, right? We don't know who they are, like a professor who knows a TA, right? Okay, let's talk about managing positions. This is the responsibility primarily of a business partner to work with you as operations specialists to understand. You have 6 open seats, open positions in your, under a supervisory organization. Let's use Max Manager as an example today, okay? If you think Max Manager is going to going to run wild and hire six students straight into those positions without telling you, you can move the positions out of that supervisory organization, okay? That is your control over this, right? So you've been given this task to move worker supervisory, and you can move them. This is what happens. It is like moving one of you from a seat over here to a seat over there. Nothing else changes. Your cost center doesn't change. Your manager does change. That's the one value. But everything else stays the same. Their job profile, their job position, their pay. It's literally moving them from over here, reporting to this person, to over here, reporting to that person. Okay? Next week, we're talking about promotions. We're talking about title changes. We're talking about transfers. Okay? And that should go through the change job business process. We'll go through all those details next week. Okay? Most of the time, you should be moving only empty seats. That's the use case we're showing you today. That's the use case we expect for you to use this process. Note that anytime you move anything, there's a record of you moving it in the system. The question was asked, well, can I just hire people under me and then move them over to my faculty member? No. That is subverting a business process, and your security for move worker supervisory could be excluded, okay?
I just have a question on that scenario because I know that some do that recently. There's challenges in the hire and they're hiring some RA now for their information sharing with their assistants. So I have to hire a student under me, and 4 to 6 weeks later, everything's in place for me finding them.
Sure. There may be exceptions to this rule, which is why you have the security to do this. But if you're every semester hiring 100 TAs under you, you're completely subverting the business process, right? So that's a conversation, right? But if it's because someone got stuck somewhere or something, that's why the flexibility exists. For you.
What about I'm sorry, not so we had a introductory class one time
Sure.
that has well over 1,000 students. So we probably get about 25 TAs with that class each year.
Yeah.
And I'm for each semester. I'm gonna hire them all under me. I just want to get them on. I want to find out if they need their own nine.
Sure.
After they're hired, I mean, how many we have total, that's when we assign them to instructors. And then I can change the manager. So I'm wondering, you know, if we have to instructor. So that would be a repeat occurrence. Every single semester, I'm hiring 25 people directly under me. And a few weeks later, I'm moving them all out.
And here's why the groups have stayed collaborative, right? Because you have the option to do some of these tasks, and you are working with your business partner and the hiring offices to make sure. The use case she shared was, I hire the 75 or 25 TAs, they come to me, and then I move them around as necessary to make sure that they go to the right manager, because we don't know who they should be at the start. That's different than this person I know needs 10. They asked me to hire 10, and they said, just throw them under you and move them over when everything's done. That's different, okay?
So when I'm moving them though, because I can,
Yes.
I have to go to my business partner, which is now giving her more work to do.
Nope, you just have to let her know this is the strategy. And if you're already working with this person, they're not a new business partner to you, then you have this existing relationship and they know what's going on, right? That's the whole deal. It shouldn't be a secret that you're sneaky, moving people around and hiring them all over because it's just easier, right? It facilitates a need of the business, and that is why we're making that change. Okay?
So how does approval level happen for these different steps? So one thing I'm thinking about is like, let's say I have a TA for a class, she did a great job. The next person to teach the class also wants to use her as a TA.
Mhm.
And I just want to change her supervisor. Maybe there's another job change that comes with it, like we give her a raise or something like that.
Yeah.
Does that have to go all the way up to the business partner? Or is that something, if it's within the pay range, et cetera, and it's a lateral move, it's just a transfer essentially of the job, to a new manager, who has to approve that?
Yeah. Let's look through those approvals and the business process steps next week. Because we're going to say for a student who's having their job changed, this is what it looks like. For a faculty, this is what it looks like. Right?
Okay.
So we're going to talk through the layers of approval. Workday will tell you which ones were required and which were skipped, right? Which is nice. But it doesn't go all the way up to Shane Reese if you move a student, okay?
Right.
It's not intended to do that. And Workday best practice is to limit the number of approvers, which is why deans aren't getting something, which is why directors aren't getting something, which is why it doesn't raise to a vice president for the interview until you've decided you actually want to interview them, right? Because we don't want all these steps getting bottlenecked in the hierarchy, if you will. Okay, so let's look at the detailed steps for next week for those change job types. Okay. This task is pretty simple. We're going to direct hire a student, so we don't need to move anybody around today. Oops, I got a little, my computer's updating, IT. They sneak behind me in the background and they let me know that they're going to slow down my computer. Okay, so this is the step that we're going to do next. We are direct hiring a student. This is an HR operations specialist or manager. You said, what is the use case? You can direct hire the student. And you said sometimes that you move them under you. Let's talk about the steps that are required so that you might not do that. You might just hire them to the person you think, right? And this is the use case that you are all sharing with me for TAs. You are clicking most of the clicks here, okay? So we're gonna search for the student using a specific report. You can search by the student ID, not the net ID. What is your net ID used for? Yeah, BYU login. You used it today when you got into SSO. You put in your net ID. I put in my net ID, which is from when I was an EFY counselor. Man, they hold on to those a long time. It's been a few years since I've been one of those. I started the project and they said, oh, you already have a net ID. What? So your net ID is still used for identity management and logins. It is not used within Workday. Once you get in, it's gone. It doesn't need it.
A little bit of
Yeah, sure.
We talked a lot about how the search bar in Workday is really robust. You can search for everything. Personally, I have found that way.
Sure.
If I want to type in direct hire, it doesn't give me anything.
Nothing.
If I want to type in something about I-9, but I don't see the dash between the I and the 9, something about I-9. Is there a way that we can create shortcuts and we can suggest that people maybe incorporate certain things because I have a feeling that what is suddenly to us, the terms we're going to choose aren't the terms that we would create.
So I'm just pulling something up now, and I want to show you this. I pulled it off screen to make sure I'm saying the right thing. This is testing my Workday knowledge. Every day I've been asked a question about something I haven't touched since I left Workday training. Okay. So it's like, okay, take me back. Let's see here. So give me a second. I did type the right task, but it's a secret implementer task. Okay, we have what are called search synonyms, okay? This is actually a change management moment. Let's all have a change management moment, okay? Get the beanbags out. I'll let a little fireball talk, okay? We have these search synonyms that can be configured. Did you notice people don't know the term spend authorization? You don't call it that. It doesn't exist right now, right, in your current system. So it's not new. So what do they put? If you type travel approval, if you type travel authorization, if you type trip authorization, pre-approval, any of those words, it will display this information, right? So that's super handy. So if you wanted to add in this tenant only, if we wanted to add a synonym for the search term direct hire, we could say direct hire, okay? And it would give you that, right? So that is one way that we can configure that, and that's a great change management item. So as you find these, raise them to the project team, and they will configure the search synonym, just as you're seeing on my screen here. We have a list of starter synonyms that we're putting into the final build. They're just not here right now. You can see one that's already been configured. So we have several that are like that. Yeah, Workday does okay. I might shorten it to just DI and hire and see if it came up, because it's going to guess the first word and go to the second word. But yeah, you're learning how to search with Workday. Needs at least 2 characters. And if you limit it to 2 characters, you get more results. But you'll notice when I look at the onboarding status summary report, as an example, if you type onboarding, you'll get those 2. But there's another report that won't show. So it's getting used to Workday's search type. That is getting better every year on machine learning and what it knows and does. There's also AI that's enabled in this tenant, and you'll see that. If you type start date, when we go to correct the worker start date, it'll tell you, your worker's start date's this. Is this what you were looking for? So it is starting to feel a little more like Google, but it doesn't do the same thing, right? It wants to give you the best results it can. So we are trying to give you some of those tips and tricks for how to search better in Workday. In the assessment, you might expect to see questions about reports. Maybe these are reports you've never run. You can run the report, okay? Even if it displays no values, you will be able to answer the questions on your screen, okay? All right. So we've searched for a student, we've selected a student. We're not doing this yet in our tenants. I'm just going over this information. Here's Jacob Abbott's information. Okay, you're reviewing you're confirming that this is the right Jacob Abbott. First of all, there's 2, right, Jacob Abbotts. I don't think there's 2 Spencer Wagners, but there's 2 Jacob Abbotts for sure. And I want to make sure I have the right one. If I searched by the student ID, I'm getting the right one, okay? If I searched by the name Jacob Abbott, I need to confirm the student ID. Or I could use the academic unit, student-wide. This is the student's academic unit, not yours, okay? So what they're going to school for, what they declared as their academic unit, their major. Okay, that's feeding over from AIM. The work study eligible field is being borrowed. We don't do work study here at BYU, right? But we are using a custom calculation, a calculated field from your student system to determine whether or not they're eligible to work, which means they need to have certain credit hours, active student, other values that are coming from the student system into the middleware and displaying it, right? If this is a no, you can move forward with this. Know that in our tenant today, that integration is not operating properly, okay? This data is from a long time ago. So the student may be active or not, it's not integrating very well in this tenant 11. It is active in the other tenant and has been tested. So if it says no, you can move forward. In our day today, we will move forward. The Student Employment Eligibility Office will also get a task to confirm eligibility, and it will only come to them if it's a no. So then they will see the student in person and say, hey, you don't have enough credit hours, or whatever the requirement is that they're not meeting, or you have too many jobs, or there's a 4th job, whatever. Complete the hire details. So you need to enter the hire date. This all came from our requisition before, but we're not using a requisition. So you need to populate them all from scratch, right? Hire date, first day of work, and so on. There is an opportunity for you to copy the details of a requisition when you're creating a requisition, which is handy. But here we're having to key it all in from scratch, okay? If you select the position, those details will populate, which is nice. So if you have a position, the position details are accurate, then you can move forward and it will populate those. If your position was student worker 1, but now you're hiring a student worker 2, you could go edit the position before you move into here. You could do that, or you could just change it once you're here. It's kind of a chicken or the egg situation with that. You can edit the position restrictions, and then you could hire into it, and they would all default properly. So employee type, job location, job profile, job title, and business title are what we're changing. So we're seeing these things. They would flow over if we had them. Service dates, don't edit those. It will give you the option to edit those, but you just let the date flow from the hire date for the continuous service date and leave it alone. Okay? So watch as I direct hire a student. I'm in as Harper HR. She's a HR business partner. She also has ops specialist security. So in our steps here in your activity guide, it says, first you need to find a student. Well, if I were taking an assessment and it said, what is the first step of the hire, what might you need to do first? Say that again?
Find a student.
Find a student, sure. What else? Say it again? Make sure there's a position open to hire. If you've answered a question recently, feel free to grab some. I saw there's a little chocolate shop downtown Provo. I ate at Black Sheep. Have you been to the chocolate shop? It looked very fancy.
It's fancy.
Yeah? Is it kind of fancy bougie?
Yeah.
It felt like Wonka, you know? It kind of had that vibe. Maybe a little less mean people who trick you into living in their workhouse or whatever, if you saw the movie. Okay. So I need to verify that there's a position. That's important. I'm hiring this into Max Manager. There's a couple ways that you can look for an unfilled position. Does anybody know one way that you could find an unfilled position?
Your org.
The org chart, okay. Grab one there. I can't take these on the plane. They'll melt. My kids always think I should, though. I thought I heard back here. Okay. So you can look at the org chart. That would be one way. Let's look that way. Okay. Max Manager. If I go to him and I click on team, I can see open positions that are here. Remember, we're hiring a student directly. If you try to hire a staff, it'll say, go to job requisition, please. Okay, you'll get errored out. But it will only be after you populate a bunch of stuff, okay? So don't waste your time, find a student position, and we're gonna give you one.
So right now, when we were doing some of this, you guys created some open positions for us. But in real life, when we go live, will there be some open positions for us? Or will the HR business partners do it?
Yeah.
Do that and create our own positions?
So the hiring offices are working with the project team to create buffer positions, right? So especially for students, student worker 1, 2, 3, 4, that you'll have a variety of those when we go live. If you're talking about a staff or a faculty, someone should have left for you to replace them, okay? So you would need,
People from our out chain create a new position, then the HR business partners create.
correct. If you create a new position, it will go to approval and it will be denied. That's what I've been told. Okay, except for if you actually need one and can justify it. But they said 70% of the cases are going to be denied because they'll say, I looked and you have an open position in this department, just move it over, hire it. Okay? Say it again.
So it's functioning kind of like a faculty hiring, that there's no positions from any other areas in our college, right? I'm searching
Then.
all the departments and for the staff.
Yeah. Because then it's a budget impact, right?
Yes.
Because now it's an unbudgeted new
Unless it's
position you need.
half-time.
Right, unless it's half-time and then you can
There's
talk.
always nuances, right?
Because you could change that position to be 2 half-time workers instead of 1 full-time worker.
Yes.
And then they would make the approval go through. I'm changing this, I'm making these full-time, half-time. That's the situation where you're working with your partner, okay? So we looked here and we're seeing that we have training staff here. I might not have a student worker in Lauren, in Max Manager. Yeah, maybe not. Oh, maybe it's just because there's so many. Oh, okay, yeah, I've got them.
There, right down there.
I think I did 15 yesterday, so I was kind of shocked. So you see that this is kind of a hard way to see this. It's like difficult to look like this. So why don't I look for Max Manager's supervisory organization? Okay. So if I hit Max Manager in the search bar, if you ever have someone's name in the search bar, it's already populated, just hit the space and it'll research for you and give you some quick results. This is Max Manager's supervisory organization. That's the organization he's the manager of. That is a very easy way to find open positions. Let's go over to the staffing tab. And what is it going to give me? Oh, not that. There it is. Staffing tab. Whoa. We've got a lot of open positions. So you're seeing positions with an open job rec. Okay, if we keep scrolling, you see positions without a job rec. That's what we want today because it's a direct hire. Okay, so this is a really nice view. If you don't have it, your partner does. Okay, so now I can see student worker 1, job profile, WAGS 2, unfilled. This sounds great to me, okay? We also need to find a student. If you haven't done this yet, hopefully this is a nice tactic you can use. Come down and duplicate the tab you're on in Workday, and now I can do a search of something else. So I still have that view up because I like it. And now I can look for something else. I want to find external students. The reason it's called Find External Students is Find Students is a Workday student search that looks for their current registration and enrollment information. And you're not live on Workday Student yet, but you can't borrow the term. It's Find External Students. That's student workers, okay? Students external to your workforce, okay? Okay, so here's the Find External Students. What are you noticing about this search page? There's 62,000 results. Do you have 62,000 active students right now? I sure hope not. That's a lot of work, okay? So we want to verify that this person is not an active student. So we're going to say active student, or I'm sorry, is an active student. So we want to say active student is true, okay? Now I'm only getting active students. I also want to know students who are not workers, student workers, okay? So I want to say is a worker, false. Am I getting a better number now?
So what's the difference?
You need to add a job, not hire. I'm doing a hire. Yeah. And you can still see that same information, and you'll see that in a moment here. Let me pick that, actually, so you can see what that plays out to be. Let me do a true. So this is someone who's already a student worker. So I'm not going to be able to use the hire process because what process do I need to use? Add job. They don't need to be hired, they're already hired. They need another job added to them. Okay? So if I look in their details here, and I go to hire the student, it is going to error out. It's going to say, or it should, it says, no, I'm sorry, you need to add a job. They already have a job. If you're not a business partner, this won't display for you. Okay? So it's just gonna be blank. It'll say nothing. Won't have a button. You can't do anything about it. So you'll need to work through it that in a different way. That's finding the student and adding a job on a different screen. Okay? Because we're on the hire student screen. You can't add a job on a hire screen. You can only add a job on an add a job screen. Okay?
Click add job.
You could click add job if you have security to do it right from here. Right? You can click add job. Okay? I'm not doing an add job. That's next week. Nice try. Okay? So find external students. Let's find that report again. Okay. And now we're going to do that same filter. Active student, I need them to be true. Is a worker, I need that to be false. Okay. Now, somebody was asking me this case. I tried to filter by anybody in the College of Business. I tried to filter by anybody in this. When your faculty member says they need a TA, do they just say, give me anybody in accounting? Not usually, right? They know the name of the person, they're an exemplary student, or they have time, or they came and told them a really nice story at the end of the class, and they just feel their heart's bleeding out for them, okay? So they know the name of the person. You're just going to search for their name. We're doing a bit of a forced search here because this is unusual. So I'm going to look for Spence or Spencer. I just like that name for some reason. Okay. So we did those two facets on the left. Your activity guide will help you through in just a moment. You're still just paying attention to what I'm doing here. You can click through, it's fine, but don't do all the things. Okay? We're going to go to the hire student. So now it's populated the student's name, but it hasn't populated the manager's name. So we're going to need to type next manager. Okay? You could then click the hire button, and it would allow you to move forward. There's always another way to do this in Workday. If you were on the tab of open positions, where we were looking before, I could come from here to hire, and I would hire a student. Okay, do you see how simple that is? I'm at the position itself. So I'm saying, hey, here's that open position, and I went to a related action to hire a student, and it's going to go there and just ask me the student's name. And it selects the position. So it's kind of a triple nice. The only way that makes sense, our activity guide has you going the way I just showed you on this screen, clicking this button. Okay, so let's pull this down. We're doing 3.1 student. So grab your activity guide if you don't have one. There's more up front. Oh, we need to give you a position. I said, Randy, you need to know where this position is, but you support like 10 managers. So you can't just like go to any position and move them around. That's not the first step. We have given you a position that we want you to hire into. Lauren has a list, I have a list. I will come and tell you the manager and where the seat is that you need to hire.
So if you started the task, you're gonna have to X out. You can go find your external student right now, but you need to add the supervisor organization of the manager we're giving you. So if you're on the hire screen, you will have to X out and start over. So just go find your student you're working with, that fake student, that's all that report is doing. You can find anyone without a job. You can type random names in the search bar. The report just helps you not go.
There's a computer spot right there. Oh.
You just need a student. If you know a student without a job, find them. Okay. So you're find your random student.
There's my list.
Are we doing blue or yellow?
Neither. Did that answer your question? When you said blue or yellow, I was like, I don't know what you're saying. You shouldn't have security to that supervisory organization. Maybe you do.
Maybe I do.
Maybe you do.
Yeah, I'm not actually. Okay.
Yeah.
There's so many.
So,
I'm just clarifying, there's so many. Make sure, so that we can all.
Okay, just to clarify, steps 1 and 2 in the activity guide help you find a student's name who doesn't have a job. So you can do that right now. Go find a student's name by running the report. Find external students. Then we'll come by with the manager's name, and that's the STU board.
you write it on step 5.
Okay. You pick any student off the list.
Try not to use the top 10 results because
I'll
it's
come
really
give
good.
you the manager's name.
We will
Yeah.
error.
Okay.
Somebody else.
So you gotta X out your name because it's like you're the manager. You're not hired into your org though.
Yeah, and then it says.
Do you have to start over with that? You gotta just sign up on the.
You're gonna need this screening. You wanna get to that screen hire student.
Oh, wait, oh.
It's not in our steps today. Is worker falls.
Brett Thomas. Just type, start
It
over
will
with
allow
hire
you to
student.
push forward.
Are we all doing the same?
It will You shouldn't pick the top 10.
Well,
It's not matter what. Hey, if we started getting our support.
Okay, Brett Thomas, let me know if you're not
I got it. Hi, Brett. Okay.
There's some tricks. Because it's actually fun.
You don't know if it's there.
And there's also the I'm just saying that that's not, you know what I'm saying?
I think we might have a plan. Okay, you ready? Okay.
But you don't have, so my name is. We don't have an position, so you need to go back, you need to stay back.
It's like,
And then you're gonna tell us.
Yeah.
Having fun.
So, excellent. Now you're just like that higher. I'll never lie.
I like it.
So that's what happened.
No.
No one else will hire
You gotta turn on the. So, okay, so you don't have. This is great. Like, you guys aren't gonna run this recording in live, you know? You're gonna just be looking through it.
How do I know? It's a big person.
We don't have a.
Oh, okay.
Should be, I can. Okay, let me get some. Ready for your managers? Okay, what's your name? Stephanie.
I know mine.
Miller? Kelly.
He said that.
You're high.
I know, great.
There's only one, position probably under you right now, so you'll hire for Carlos. So we're just practicing not hiring as a manager, as hiring as someone else. So sorry, hiring as not specialist for someone else, does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, we have to do that, so.
Yeah, so you already do that, so we're just practicing not hiring directly. Because some people in the room aren't.
No, it's the same.
Okay, so. Let's hire Jay. Validate now. Yeah. So you hit hire.
Oh, you got it. You'll just type it in.
And then.
So I can.
Validate the first day work is correct. I guess, oh. So, and then.
First step on the
Okay, Kyle, stay please. And then what's the transaction? Yeah.
Totally good. There's 5 of them.
Yeah, that's what.
Because you're not hiring the right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might not be able to, but let me look. Right.
So if they don't have a higher budget, you need to, they probably have a job on campus.
Oh. Chris?
Like your workday shirt.
Thank you. How good's it?
That's not making other come in here.
You have a tracker on your phone.
I saw. I see. Yeah, like that's a little red
The
dot.
little dot moves around.
Like,
That BYU app is so nice. I had someone ask me that once. Will Workday track my phone? They were like, you turned on geofencing. Like, it just knows the location of your phone is within a boundary. It doesn't know that you're in that room. Are you nervous about it? Is there some kind of closet situation I need to know about?
I just came from a meeting where we're going to give a presentation to the student life division, and he's like, "There's some people who are a little nervous about like Big Brother kind of stuff." And I was like, he was like, "Not a lot, and really not a big deal. You probably just want to be familiar with me." I was like,
Somebody in our class asked about disability. Why does it ask me this question? Well, it's federally mandated. So that's the first.
Yeah, that's a.
And the second is, they do track this. It says there's a goal or target for 7%. Because that is true of Utah. So you should hit that number because in general, that's how many people are disabled. So if you're not, the question is, what are you doing to stop disabled people from working?
That's there's a hand. I'm sorry. Yeah, exactly. That seems like a crazy thing.
She needs to search for a new student.
Well, no,
Let's
I
see a little.
have,
This one should be done.
you have her right. Yeah, I hit submit, and then this is okay.
Because somebody else used the position, or you're hiring a position that was an active worker, or you chose a staff position. One of the things. Yeah. So you use someone who already has a position, or you use the staff worker, not the student. So you have to look for another student. A second ago, right? Yeah, just pick another student. Who do I need? Not yet. Just say it 3-1. Yeah. Let me do that. Okay, we are combining the rest of this activity with a 10-minute break. If you need, please. So finish off this activity 3.1 only. Stop there, and then we'll complete this activity. Take a break if you're already done. There's soda, Diet Coke, there's snacks you can buy, there's chocolate.
Basketball. It was just picking a new student or
Okay, that works.
Okay, anyone else?
Okay, that works.
Yay. Some students are dressed being used. Well, especially.
Should it be the School of Accountancy or School of Social Work? Okay. What's airing out? Can't complete this action because there are pending completed organization changes. Of course.
Yeah, because like people, everyone's going like in like, yeah, going down, because I'm someone that kind of cares, so I just like, think about no one's really scrolling,
Yeah, hey, how are you? How long have you been here?
Got here Tuesday.
Oh my gosh, we should have done dinner. I didn't even know you were coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, I leave.
Sneak in and sneak out.
I leave at lunch.
Oh, you do?
So yeah, we've been here since 7 o'clock.
Oh,
Yeah, because we had Monday sessions, Tuesday sessions, all day.
yeah.
So, what? Let's see. It's a big group, right?
We had
That makes me feel nice. Hopefully they didn't say, just say it to be nice to you, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, I'll have fun.
Thank you.
Trying to say it's not mine.
Now this is Jane said, I need to use Jane to Jane.
Hey, leave it at 5.
You know, social she's saying, you put a supervisor.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's much easier. Yeah. And so that's why we're practicing giving you someone else's order.
You can use my card.
If you think of it like that, no worries.
We need help.
Yes, under this table in a box, there are all the other handouts.
Good job, I'll be right back.
Okay, see you later. Right under this white tablecloth. Do you see them there hiding?
Oh, the Twinkie. The Twinkie is the key. Oh, okay. All right. But only one vote person can type in, or can I?
That's what I'll be doing for the rest of the time.
Hi there.
Hi, I'm just looking for the gal with the supervisor names.
I have them right here.
Oh, Rick Thomas, who's his?
Rick Baldass.
Rick Baldwin.
Okay, Charlene, you should be good now. So try again. Yeah. Okay, good news. You're Jennifer Miller, right? Yep, you're next.
I know, it's like,
Jennifer
well, it helps me to do
Miller.
it again.
Do you know a manager that you support? Did we look one up? What was the name of that? History? Anybody? Christopher Jones.
So who are you hiring?
Hi there.
Who's Kristen?
How's it going?
Okay.
Okay.
So going through the exercise, you need to focus on.
No, I'm good.
Which is fine.
Yeah, no worries.
When you're going through the exercise, it does tell you to select your college
Oh, it does.
and to get the student from your college. But you don't need to.
You don't need to. You can choose any student anywhere. The use case is that, right? Normally,
Yeah, TA would be.
right?
But if you're hiring a student worker or someone else, they could come from a different college.
100%. Yeah. Maybe you're just hiring a student worker to be on your staff to help the HR. Doesn't need it. Probably isn't. Right? In those cases.
Okay, so
Yeah, that was just, we try to plan those activities for what your final use case is.
all right. Good luck with.
Sorry, we have another event we have to be at.
Sure. We enjoy it.
Alumni.
I hope they have chocolate.
Good luck.
Yes, it's a lot of
Fast and Furious Day today.
So you're from Vegas?
From Vegas. They're born and raised there.
Well, actually, I was born in Vegas. My parents were
Yeah.
originally from California.
Well, I had
Yeah.
been a process, so I had to do it again.
Yeah, so are they still there?
No, I ran into it.
Yeah.
So I
Same.
moved down there and
Yeah, what's the last name?
you listen to live.
Like Tate Elison
Yeah, I
and his
used
wife?
Yes, I used to be.
I know some
He's a firefighter.
My cousin.
Yeah, he's in our same works. He and his wife and then his parents, they were just down the street.
Where was his parents? Tracy.
Yeah.
Tracy is my cousin.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. Not a lot of lives.
Small, exactly when you said it, I was like, oh yeah, I'm assuming.
Some go by Elison, some go by oh.
They just say it whatever way they feel.
Yeah. I said Elison.
Yes.
But like in Yucatan,
Yes.
they say Elison.
Do they?
Cache Valley was in Eastern. Down here it's a
Uh-huh. That's so funny. That's such a small world. Oh, Tate.
But like, if you want a direct hire service, you just type their name in. And you type their name in and you say, oh, Lizzie Windsor has a job, I'll just add a job. Or you'll be like, oh, you know, Keith Walker has never worked with gas before. And then I just hire this.
Oh, I only have 48 seconds. Can I make it?
I did.
I continue.
So people just.
That's right, that's exactly right.
I mean, I like my report, just because I like responses. I think the thing that people are gonna have to. You're doing great. It's really
I'm like, am I hitting the clock at 12 seconds? I don't know if I can do it that fast. I'm trying.
Let's try.
I didn't make the cutoff. I was hiring 3 positions and I thought I could do it in 2 minutes, but taking just a minute longer than that.
But it's funny because the person in my quote unquote in my supervisory org with no positions are looks.
Well, Kelly's gonna email us to say
Honestly, everything's really scrambled and people I know are.
Okay, Julie, you should be all set now.
So there's like all kinds of.
Sorry for the delay. Man, it's a lot of typing.
He's listed as being Department of Design, he's just listed with Joe as manager, that's the weird thing. He's listed Department of Design, but Joe for some reason is a supervisor.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So he is listed Department of Design.
So she said you're
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks for asking good questions.
Well, I don't.
That's what I'm saying, so like, so I mean, like, there's a good block, everything in line. Because I feel like we already I already have like this. So I think it's like, so I probably say like, done. I already
Were we supposed to complete 3.2?
No. Nope, you shouldn't have moved on to any other.
I did not.
Thank you.
I'm still getting that.
Like left.
Oh, yeah. Janitor, right? Yeah. Yep, I'll do it right now.
Okay, are they gonna need to communicate past a certain point?
You need to watch, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, why did it let me submit the hire and then when I went on my path?
It's not showing the task?
Well, when I go to my task bar and it says I still got that same error. And I think it's
Let's see. Okay, so let's talk about a few things that you may have experienced.
Oh, still got an error.
Okay, so some of you selected a staff position when you should have chosen a student position. staff positions have to go through recruiting, so it's not gonna let you. Some of you chose a student somebody else was choosing. That's real life, okay? You know, maybe the student stopped by your office and they're like, yeah, I need a job, and then they stop by somebody else's office, yeah, I need a job. Well, you can't both direct hire at the same moment. One of you has to go first and the other has to go second, okay? So that's tricky because I know students kind of shop around. I know on Program Granted we had a student start for a day, they were gone the next day, right? So we get it, I understand. But know that Workday does not allow concurrent events. So if there's a hire event already started for somebody else, it won't allow a hire event for that person on the same day, at the same time, until the process is finished, right? Just like personal information change. If you change your address, somebody else can't change it in the middle of you changing it.
Will it save it?
Will not save it.
So you have to start over on the direct.
Yes. Because if the student's already going, right, you need to select another student. There are some other errors that occurred, and I'm not sure right here we had one that she had a job profile that was no profile, non-exempt, blah, blah, blah. That's not a bona fide profile, and it will not let you push through that way, and it's going to default values that won't allow you to direct hire that person. So it has to be a student profile with a student job, with a student worker selected. They have to be an active, student, but not an active worker, right? So there's a bunch of reasons you could be getting errors in this class, and that's what you'll need to triage. If you go to hire the student and it doesn't work, you're going to ask the student, do you already have another job on campus? Oh, yeah, I do. Did I not say that? Well, then you need to use a different process. You can't use hire, okay? It's going to kick that student out, okay? Yes. When we did that search, you saw that it showed they had a job and it said adjunct. So it wouldn't let me do it the other way. Yes, it would show their job and business title. Yes, you are right about that. So the question was, is there any way to look without going into some detailed report or waiting for an error? Yes. If you search for the student, it will pull up the student's job. When you click on the student's name, the most obvious way is it will show their job details, who they work for, where they work, right? And if it doesn't show that, they don't have a job.
And is it the same limit? They can only have 3 jobs?
3 jobs, that did not change. Right? Okay. This next step proves that on Thursday you are naughty. I don't know who, I could look at who, and I won't say today who, but someone has moved forward my direct hire all the way to completion. Okay, so I was like, oh, in my inbox, you should filter for the task change organization assignments, okay? I'm getting none. The next step in our task is change organization assignments, okay? So I will show it on the screen. I will not be able to demo it for you because someone moved my person forward, okay? It looks just like what my screen is saying, and you need to make these selections. If you selected the worker profile and you added those profile details, some of these should default, but you may need to select them. So for the English department, you might need to select English as the cost center. Here we did BYU, we did the cost center as BYU Food to Go, then the program and fund defaults. You need to select the student hiring office if it is not already selected. This should have been configured at the time of create position. If you create a position, your next task will be to select organization assignments, right? And that should have already occurred. But maybe this position was slated for English, and now you're moving it to Spanish, okay? I don't think those are in the same department, but you get what I'm saying, right? You might need to change the cost center to be to a different department or a group or something like that, okay? The hiring office should maintain student. If you change this value, it will not route properly. It will go unassigned or something. It would just go to different approvers. So go ahead and complete exercise 3.2, assign organizations. It should be in your inbox waiting for you to complete. If you've already completed it on your person and mine, thank you. Save me a step.
So we're not changing anything.
Yeah, if it's all good, just hit submit.
So that's, I don't need to just do it.
Yeah, it looks like it's all filled out the right way. Because it came from the business. But it's your chance. If you decide you want to do it. Sure. It's not going to change anything. You could exit out and put it in. And you would repopulate the other two. Mostly.
I don't, you should. Because you're this number. And we're all, we're just not open the change. You're just opening us. You're just checking.
So if you have. Yes. You have That's what's important. They will default whatever it's defaulted.
Because they said basically.
If you have like admin, class, whatever. Comments are here. That's for sure. And it's not about any, like, comment and never. And you don't know why you would. Not a clear use case. Okay, we're gonna move along from that step. It's pretty simple. Is there a question here? Sorry.
So you just have to make sure, you just have to make sure.
Yeah.
That you're just.
Click on the three dots. That's just our class. It's not. So click on the three dots. That's what you want to know. Head count. Yes. The Cosmos personal question. You may have, you mean to a different column. Okay, so let's go down to looks like it's still fine. You can exit out, and if you click in here, that's not the fun. These are all fun. It does have to make sure it's appropriated or. Nope, because it is fun.
It's in progress.
You can change the cost. So is it?
We just kind of broke it up. So, husband party, so like it's to initiate the hire. And
What if
It's basically, yeah, so that's why it's X out of it, you don't just open it right away. Because if you're like going to choose this hire, actually, one more conversation, right? I don't have to finish the hire. Yeah, so when you go back to your boss, let you know. Yeah, I know, kind of comes in waves, everyone's initiated, it's easier. No, you're all done. You're welcome.
Well, what time is
I don't need to see. Okay. We are on the proposed compensation hire step. We got to keep moving forward here. Okay, so the HR operations specialist, you are the one who submitted this, or the partner. So you're getting this task again. If the manager had, they would. Many of the fields will auto-populate from the position that we created. We did have to propose default compensation for that position. So that's what's going to flow here, the range and all the things, as well as actually a selection. So update that hourly amount. I do not have this step because someone has moved both of our hires forward, Stella and Samantha. So I can't demo this on the screen, but that's what it looks like to you. You're going to get this to your inbox to propose the compensation higher, and then you need to change this value. There was a question as you're going through about cost centers, and it was a good one. So you might use some chart of accounts today. You need to work with your business partner to understand how to map those during this process or during any transaction. You're displaying fields that I'm not familiar with, but we can move through and try and select them in your cost center, fund, program, and other values. If you're finding an error, you can't find one that works, reach out to your finance business partner to get that information, okay? Okay, so move through this task, 3.3, proposed compensation higher. If you want to see me demo this, head to yesterday or any other session this week.
So that is, okay, so that hour, and the hourly is where you can edit.
The profit, so the profit
That was easy.
Okay, so
Okay. If you don't see this step, look at a neighbor who's completing it, but it's pretty simple, same as what our slide says. Okay? Okay. I'm not going to show this step live, but there is a review student eligibility step that goes to the hiring office, right? The employment eligibility task. We talked about that. So they are going to get a step only if it's a no. So if the student comes in ready to submit their I-9 documentation, they can see, hey, it came back as a no, and we need to check a name and see what's going on. Are you registered full? You know, when is it happening? It does look ahead to future semesters and the current semester. So it does know that if over time they will have that, and it does know that information. But right now we're getting a no. Again, it's not working in our tenant very well, so don't worry about this. That's not a step you get. That's a step for the hiring office. Okay? So you're not going to see it in your inbox today. Whew. Hey, we made it to on board. Okay, you should have submitted the compensation, and it's going to go forward to whom? Do you know where it went? Look in your inbox archives. Where did it go? Let me see if I could find mine. Maybe you already did all these steps. I'm not sure. Okay, so let's look at the hire. Oh, in the archive, let's look for the hire. Okay, so Yeah, it's so weird. Is anybody having proxy access and logged in as Harbor HR? Because you shouldn't be. So if you are, you should log out of proxy and just be yourself. They're testing? Okay. Yeah, it's really putting me for a tailspin. I'm like,
There's a student hire right there.
they're like, oh, this is in Harper's box. I'll just move it along. Got
See
it.
down there, there's a student direct hire, Landon Dance. So that's good. No, right above that, there's a hire. There you go.
Okay, so let's take a look at this. I'll look at the process and we'll just see where we're at. Okay. Okay, so we have this verify student eligibility. This step again, I showed it on screen, but it has to be done to move forward. So I will just move this forward so we have this step that goes, okay? So we have a bunch of these. Okay, so we have Emma. We're saying, it says no, but I'm gonna move it forward anyway. Emma Hughley. Okay. If I look at Emma's process, let's take a look. Who should we expect to see is up next? Michael Wood. Michael Wood is up next. It's awaiting Michael Wood's action. Say that again? So I'm looking here. I'll go back in the 10 in a second. Staff compensation, benefits partner, automated system, HR partner, and now it's to the manager, to the welcome, okay? So if you go to your inbox archive, let's get there. I'm in the inbox. This is for a different person in the process than you, but you would do the same thing. You look for the overall process of hire, okay? There's one right here. I could look for that one. But the overall process of hire is what we need to find. And you should see what manager it's waiting on. Okay, what manager it's waiting on. Okay, so Michael Wood is this manager. Let me show you the step they get. Okay, I have an onboarding setup step. I'm getting my timer out. Oh, I spelled clock wrong. That's complicated. Okay, you will not see this step because you're not a manager and you're not the one getting this step, okay? So we are looking at what the manager is receiving. This is because your department chair is going to get this for every hire. Student, faculty, adjunct faculty. Your director or manager will get this for every hire. Student, staff, okay? Every hire. It's not movable. You can't change it. You can't reassign it. This is the task that comes. You can't proxy. That does not exist at GoLive, okay?
I have a question.
Yep.
And maybe this will be discussed in the ad job next week, but like currently in PeopleSoft, if a student already has a job, it's kind of a concurrent hire until the other manager has to approve.
Yes.
Will that still be the same? Okay.
Okay, the question was, student already has a job, and I, as the HR operations specialist, am submitting the ad job. Does the manager need to see this before it moves forward? The answer is yes. We're not going into the detailed ad job today.
No, that's fine. But I was just curious if that step was still.
You got it.
Thanks.
Yes. Right. You can always. Always. Hey, the question was, hey, I have a hire and I need to know where this hire is. How can I see the process? Where would you go to see where this hire is in the process if you initiate it? The inbox archive, always. You're the initiator. Do you know as a student, if they submit an update to some information or as a staff member, they can also go to their inbox archive and see that it's waiting on you? Okay? So it's transparency in the system to help. Managers can too. Hey, I'm savvy. I initiated the hire. Who's it waiting on? And you can go take a look and say, let's go to your inbox archive. Let's see who it's waiting on. It's a waiting action from Annalisa. Hey, Annalisa, we're here. It says it's waiting for you to verify the student employment eligibility. And she'll say, oh yeah, I know, it's a no, so I'm trying to work out with the student, I already called them, right? Okay, so that's kind of how this process is going. You can get involved, but the initiator can see in the inbox archive where it is. You cannot search the student's name and on a related action find the history of the process. Okay? There is a report that is being delivered. It's not available today, but it is active business process by worker type, and you could see where it was for a specific worker. But you don't have security today, so I'm not showing it to you. Okay? They said, oh, we promise it's coming. It's not there yet. Let's talk about how you'll see the status after here, though. That would be helpful. Oh, okay. Thanks. Oops. Hey, I think I can go back to Samantha staff. If you're logged in and you have Samantha staff in your crosshairs, you got to aim for a different buck, okay? Okay, here's my onboarding step, which I expected to do myself. Okay. Max manager is logged in. The department chair gets this step. Hey, I'm going to turn on my stopwatch here, and I need you to, I'm going to time how long it takes for the department chair to do this, so you can explain to them the time it's going to take, okay? So they're logged into Workday. I didn't do that because I have a different process than you. And I hit start. Okay. I can click straight from my home page for the onboarding setup. And on this screen, I am reviewing the text and I'm clicking submit. Did we get it? Hey, that was 16 seconds.
Can you repeat that for those that missed? Just that what the manager needs to do?
Yes.
Because we're saying the hire is complete, and it is.
And it is.
But the I-9, they need to, yeah.
So, in order to initiate onboarding, which includes I-9, populating your license, adding your social security card, picking up your laptop, getting your ID, all of those things are hinging on this manager logging in and spending 16.31 seconds in the system. Whoever the hiring manager is, and we know that's a hire for a person that directly reports to you. So that is the dean, if it's a faculty member at some level. It's a chair.
So the chair is not doing all students?
No, Max manager says chair because we used him in it. Okay.
It's whoever the person is they report
It's
to.
whoever, so the name we gave you, it would be that person. You hired into that person's supervisory org. They have to go initiate onboarding, but if they have a new worker who started, if they don't initiate it, the tasks do not get sent to the worker to start their I-9. So this puts some responsibility on the managers. This is their worker stuff. If they hire.
It has nothing to do with that. They are only getting the onboarding setup stuff.
If the manager pays for it.
If they did the hire, they need it all. But if you did the hire, they don't see, this is not an approval step. Okay, let me clarify that again. That's a great question. He said, okay, the manager gets this onboarding setup task. How do they know that the compensation was correct for the student worker? Did you see on my screen anything about compensation? This is the first and gatekeeping step that bridges the hire to onboarding. So there's no hire details at all in here. This is welcoming the new staff, and it is the very first piece that moves them into the onboarding. The rest of the I-9 process, verifications, and all that is needed for them to start their first day. Okay? So this is not an approval. It does not say approve down here. If it did, it would say deny or send back. This is submit, which means it's a task they're completing themselves. Okay?
Yep, and this is different because right now we're saying they're hired. They are hired. They can log into Workday, the new hire can, but their I-9 isn't done yet. So that's what we're trying to emphasize. It's a difference. They are hired in Workday. They can log in as themselves and see their tasks, but their I-9 needs to be sent when the manager initiates the onboarding for them, and they'll get those tasks. So it's just a little different than how it's done right now.
in and out?
They can clock in.
and out.
Okay, that was my question.
Well, that's gonna be a
Without their
problem.
I-9.
Without their I-9, yeah.
Yes,
Then we
They
get
can't
fined
tell
for
them.
that.
What?
correct.
Fined for that.
So,
Can you change that?
Yeah.
No,
no.
it's an automatic data
Yeah.
feed when your Workday
They're not
account's created to
supposed
go.
work at all.
So
They're
my
not supposed to work.
question,
So
Correction, this is the job.
that's what we're showing this, so you can inform managers, hey, they have a Workday account, they've logged in, but you have to wait till their I-9's done. We're
Correct.
checking their status once it's done. But again, if they work before their I-9's done,
And-
you will pay them.
Legally and federally, 3 days is the time you have after their first day of work, and then you'll get fines and it kind of goes back.
For a direct hire.
no, we get fined up front by BYU.
Yes.
No, oh, no, I was
Does
adding
the
it.
message up there auto-populate, and is that text something that we can, set as like, our own unit? We can say, this is the text that auto-populates, or do we have to provide separate documentation to people saying, this is what needs to be in the text, for example, if you've got a TA, is that something we manage off of Workday?
Yeah, the question is, the text I'm seeing on this screen, can I as an HR operations specialist edit this? Today, no. Yesterday, no. In the future, we could configure onboarding to be specific to English.
Yeah.
We have not. This is global BYU onboarding. So it is delivering this message. The helpful contacts that have been selected are based on security that have been delivered. Notice the people to meet have not been selected, and you would expect that to be different per person, right? So we don't default that value here, okay? So you cannot configure this text. The manager can, because it is a welcome from the manager, not you, okay? So
But
it's not.
But we can provide guidance to managers and say, you need to make sure that your onboarding includes this disclaimer about do not start until you get completed your I-9.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
correct. So you could add language for the for the employee that would see this information. And you could say, hey, put this in the paragraph for me because I think that's important. Yes, you could add that. They did not choose to add it here.
There's a question over
Okay.
there. Some more questions.
Yes. Yeah, let's answer this question with an assessment question. On the assessment, it is going to ask, where does the manager sit for their supervisory organization? Do they sit within their direct reports or do they sit above their direct reports? Above. So anybody who is the person who sits above the new hire is the hiring manager and will receive this task, no matter the type of role. Student, staff, faculty, they're all getting this. And it is specific to the very person above who is set as their manager. Okay? It's a welcome from your direct manager. Okay? That's what this is. The clock in.
What was your question?
She asked, why can't they disable clocking in at the time the Workday account is created? We know, and the system was configured because people do start working. If this direct hire was starting this afternoon, the integration runs at a certain time of day, feeds you the Workday account, and it would delay them clocking in, right? And maybe they went straight to the Employment Eligibility Office and they filled out their I-9 and then they started working that afternoon. This is the use case for that to be created. But you have to choose one or the other. It's either delayed for a certain point and they cannot clock in and there's manual entries for payroll, or they can clock in and you need to prevent them from working. Because even if they don't clock in and they do work, you have to pay them, right? So restricting their clocking in doesn't restrict them from working. You know what I mean? Yeah, like they could go start clearing the grounds and they can get out a weed eater, or they could go start serving food, even if they haven't clocked in, right? So there's nothing to stop that either. So it's a control, but it's not meant to stop all cases, okay?
So So does the manager, the student, or the initiator receive notification that this W-9, that this student has been completed? I-9, sorry, the I-9 has been completed.
I don't remember. It's just the manager that gets this information. We were talking about the notification, if
The
it goes, the bell icon, right? The student gets it, absolutely.
And the manager.
I need to check on the manager.
You as an operations specialist, let's talk about how you'll see it, okay? Because you want to know this information too, okay? Because you can see this,
The manager.
okay?
Not
So-
the off specialist.
Let me see where I am in my notes.
You can check the status, just gonna show you how to check the status, okay? You can do
Okay.
everyone in this.
So remember, this message is from the manager, not from you. You can have them include specific information. 16 seconds, so if you have 40 hires, let's do some quick math here, okay? I'm really bad at math. I'm not a accounting major, right? 16 seconds times 40 divided by 60. So 10 minutes to do 40 hires. If they want to paste and copy some information is what we're estimating here. I would say it's probably less because they're just gonna submit, okay? They may customize this a little more. For a regular faculty who's joining your team, do you think they might spend a little more time with the custom welcome message? I would expect that. You don't hire 20 of those a year. Maybe hire one. Maybe hire one every 5 years, right? So this enables them to spend the time they need to on it. For an adjunct, submit. That could be less than 5 seconds, okay? So this is not a skippable step. It's not a reassignable step. You can't take it over. They have to click this click, okay? It's to encourage the manager to be involved in the onboarding process, right? Okay, they won't be able to complete their I-9 if they don't, so just threaten them, right? I'm kidding. But, hey, they can't complete their I-9, they can't complete any documentation until you do this. So if you're wondering who the bottleneck is, it is you, okay? No one else can move it for you. Just do it for me. Nope, that's not an answer. Log in right here, I'll help you. All right, so we did this step. Max Manager already did it. This is for a different worker, right? Wonder Woman is showing here. Let me show you how you might find this information yourself. So let's go back to the deck here for a moment. Post count hire. Here we are. Here's the onboarding setup task. They can share a welcome message, people to meet, and a helpful contact. You have this report, manager or primary recruiter. Primary recruiter is kind of an interesting thing to list here because it should be the operations specialist, but you'll be able to check on the status of onboarding for employees you support by running this onboarding status summary. You may have an assessment question that asks, on the onboarding status summary, can you view a column that says I-9 status? Do you see a column that says I-9 status? How would you find the status of the I-9? You could do that summary report, the I-9 process form.
But that form, we cannot pull up individuals.
You got it. This is the screen you would see it. How would you see it on this screen? Items on the left are in progress. Complete form I-9 is not done. This is the student's task. Okay, that other screen says, did step 2 and 3 happen, which is not the student, okay? So, the student's task of completing the form I-9 has not finished. Does anybody see I-9 on the right, where it is completed? What the? To do, I-9 completion is done in the completed tab. Okay, let's show you what this step is for students, okay? So that you can see what this is, or for staff. Okay, so let's take a look at that in the tenant. Where's my mouse? Okay. So we're gonna start proxy. Just for a moment, I'm gonna go in as Stella staff, I think. Okay. So until the manager hits submit on the onboarding setup task, the employee can log in and will see nothing. Their inbox is empty. There's nothing for them to do. There's no tasks assigned, okay? As soon as they do complete that task, immediately we get some things in our inbox. Specifically, they could see this information by clicking on onboarding. This is a report that displays. I would encourage your staff to use this as they're being hired, students, faculty, and other. It tells you, hey, here's a welcome from President Reese. Dave Tueller says something I already know. We already took a note. Dave Tueller's on his way out, right? So we need to replace this with another person. Got it.
Okay, this is old info.
Old info, okay? It tells you who the helpful contacts are for Carl and Kamiley. It says we're excited for you to be a part of our team. It tells you someone that's been listed to meet. It also points you to required training. Here's a question I've been asked more than once. Well, can I just show what training they have assigned here? No, this takes you to your required learning in Workday, okay? So there's some standard required learning because they're a new employee that will be delivered. You can become the role that assigns learning. And HR operations specialists have been added this assignment in some cases. You could follow up with your business partner to say, in my department, I assign learnings, and I need to make sure that I have that security for go live, and they can follow through with the security team to make sure you do it. But you can push training specifically to their transcript. You could do this for every hire as they come in. You can go into their transcript and add the things they need to take OSHA, chemical compliance, whatever things you do in your department.
I'm just wondering, the required learning, does it have the university core training?
Yes, that's what's been loaded. Mm-hmm. So they've loaded all of the content that's come from Absorb. That university courses have been loaded as well. It's all coming over, okay?
Perfect, thank you.
Okay. All right. Any more questions about the onboarding that you're seeing here? Okay, so we saw the status. If we look in the inbox here, let's talk about the I-9 piece for a second here. It's pretty important, right? Oh, let's get back to our deck for a second though, okay? Let's take a look at the onboarding dashboard and do this activity, and then we'll get into the wave so that you'll see what I mean when you take a look at this, okay? So, view the onboarding dashboard, take a look at this, follow activity 3.4 for instructions. You'll log in as yourself. You'll, in the search bar, select onboarding, and you will see this information for you.
Overview, so they can start understanding, and then there should be your everything.
Yeah, that was a good question. We did not go through the staging steps to move your person through to the end. So that employment verification or employment eligibility did not happen. Right. So your student, we're done with today, okay? I'm showing those steps on this screen, but you can click and see other reports, but they're gonna be stuck in another process. I haven't moved it forward.
Do I need to go back and do?
Nope. We're done. That's all that.
So,
From here on out, it's your own.
so HR officers don't by default assign.
You may have an assignment, but they're not one to one.
Yeah,
Does
yeah.
that make sense?
But they
Like,
can be
your-
associated with the position. You know what I'm saying? Like let's say let's say that already on the job,
I can admit.
like associated with the position, or are they assigned as colleagues?
You can create a learning path that is autonomous as a certificate. Whether you obviously haven't done that yet.
Yeah, I
So,
can.
well,
Yeah, it's already.
and at the beginning, you can manually assign it, and you can work with the learning to make it happen.
And that would be Okay, so like let's say I have, let's say I have two all PhD years, right? If we're assigning work on every day, learning then that can be broadly assigned as a line of learning. Anybody who's in it.
University of
And then oh, I want to catch that. I
Oh, you're right.
But at least it'll.
It's part of our bill. We want
But I bet it's actually more than what I have in my contract. Yeah. Or like, provide firefighters. Yes. And assigning things manually is not a huge ask. It would just be nice to have attention.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like when I was hired, collaborative
Right, right, yeah. And I think there's certain positions that are higher volume positions for our department, like TA and stuff, where it'd be like, okay, if we're hiring 50 TA this semester, it'd be nice to not have to like rely on their managers.
Or a spreadsheet.
Or a spreadsheet to remind them that they have their TA.
But the nice thing is you would just assign we would just run a report on who
As long as I have the ability to assign those tasks. And it doesn't have to be accurately included in the onboarding initial email by the manager. I think that's fine. Yeah.
And it's fine. You're gonna have to
But obviously, I should have the ability to assign
And that's where those two roles are totally
Right.
They can
Right. Right.
They're all right.
I know a lot of like buffer positions, but our options. And then, like, in other words, if that were has never had a TA really, and all of a sudden we're never and all of our TA positions, these are filled. Like, I can't have a specialist created position.
It's supposed to be a process, but you also need to pay.
Okay, so I can't find. It would be currently.
Yeah, so that you can see it, so it's here, so it's like. Well, I'm saying this is.
The other things like bigger models,
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, this is how.
So I understand that and there's not one really about
Change the flow process. If you didn't.
So it's just gonna be like a giant pool of unfree.
So I think that's what it is.
That's what
You would need like a big one.
And I think that's more me.
That's what your workers do. You're not a limited requirement. Okay. Let's talk about the waves of onboarding. How many waves of onboarding are there? Three waves. That is definitely on the assessment. Okay, the first wave includes your faculty agreements, your period activity pay contracts. We talked about faculty compensation being involved in that, right? Filling out their employee profile is included there. Any agreements, government ID, and legal name. Why do you collect the government ID separate from the I-9? Do we know? Why do you collect a government ID separate from the I-9? Not for the I-9, separate to the I-9. Why do we collect it? That's for the I-9. Why do we collect it before? What purpose does it serve? It's tax reporting, okay? So you need this so that you can have taxes work out. Okay? So that is important to say. This step number 4 for a new hire may feel like I did my I-9. I uploaded a picture of my own social security card. Isn't that awesome? Hey, when the I-9 office gets it, can they say, oh, here it is. I've completed it.
They have to see it.
They gotta see it right there. Okay. So they can say, oh no, sorry. You need to call your mom and have her send you the passport or whatever. Okay. So they'll work through that task with them. It's not the same step. Notice they are separate steps. The first is for taxes. The second is for verification, federal verification that the employee is eligible to work. Okay. They are not the same intention at all. Okay. Home contact change is straightforward. Personal information change is straightforward. Okay. Edit government ID. The employee will attach a copy of their social security card. If they're an international employee, they can skip that and do it a different way, right? But for the majority, they're going to just upload a picture of their social security card, which will validate that they entered the ID correctly, okay? They'll punch in the numbers and then they'll upload a picture. That's the step. Yep.
Will the system identify an international student?
Yes.
Okay.
Because they're marked as such by their AIM account.
Okay, and so they'll know not to do this. And they'll have their extra
This step
steps.
comes, so they need to read it because this is starting.
Okay.
They need to know, okay, yeah, I don't have that,
They will
so.
tell them to go to the international office and everything they need to do.
It says, this is not part of the process, it says right on there, FSY Canada, Canada in the box, SIN and the type. So it's trying to help as much as possible. If you don't have this, you can move forward. You can hit submit with a blank. Okay.
So in the olden days, today, a social security card had to be presented in person, right? It couldn't be a copy or anything like that. When they go into student employment now, they have to bring their original card and they're very particular about it. But it sounds like under Workday, they can upload a copy of their social security card. It doesn't have to be presented in person.
Let me read the line again. This process is used to validate your social security card. This is not the I-9. Okay. So this is a separate step. It has nothing to do with the I-9. It won't flow to the I-9. Well, it would populate the I-9 with the social, but.
Social Security is one of the acceptable documents for doing your I-9. You know, has like.
We are at the.
Something from 1 and something
Yes.
from 1 and 2, so it's an acceptable document that they.
We are at the step before the I-9 is initiated. This is not the I-9 in any way, nor does anything that's used here is used there. Besides the number, if they populate the social, it will bring that over to the next step.
Yeah, we were talking to Martin yesterday, and he was like, it'd be awesome if they could just upload their social here and they take a picture of it. Like, I remember when I was a student, my mom wouldn't give me my social security card because it was in her safe, and she was like, I'm not giving it to you. So they can upload that, but then when they do their I-9, I had to have a passport or another acceptable document. It could be their social.
And you guys
We could
know
bring
the
that in
passport's
then.
the magic document, right? You just need the one and you can move on, right? You know that you can now submit and get a renewed passport online. You don't have to go in anywhere. Is that crazy? So I went and did mine. I took my own photo. I looked better and I wasn't as nervous. They said no selfies, but I just made sure my shoulders weren't in it so we couldn't
Oh,
tell.
in the face.
Yeah, because it can't smile, right?
Yeah,
Anyway.
you could do that for the
It's kind of nice. But here, once they show up on the day of, gotta have the document in hand. If you're bringing your social, you need two. If you're bringing your passport, you only need the one. That's a federal requirement and is totally separate from this
It's
set.
that little list of acceptable documents.
Okay.
Steer them.
Then they get a review documents task. It says, hey, dress and grooming, church education, personnel conduct, overtime calculation. They need to hit, I agree, I agree, I agree. Somebody asks, what if they don't? Well, they're terminated. You just move forward to terminate the employee. They can't work here and not agree to these things, okay? That's how jobs work. Okay? I-9 completion step. Here's the one that said it was already done. It said it was already done. Let's look at what the step delivers to the inbox. So we did the Social Security thing, totally unrelated. We did some verification of grooming standards, totally unrelated, obviously, to the I-9. And then we're here. It says the new hire will receive an inbox task to schedule an I-9 appointment, okay? That's what this is. It's a link that says, here's where you schedule, and it's a link that tells them what acceptable documents they need to have before they get there. If they've never had a job, this is totally new to them, okay? So encourage them to look at those acceptable documents, bring a passport, a social security card, and the other. You know how it goes, okay?
Question. So if they've already had a job, will this screen pop up?
If they're working in a current job, this screen will not display. They don't need to do another I-9.
The nice thing is, it's on the invoice, and so students will see.
Yes.
But like, no, this is all first.
Yeah. The employment eligibility office, right, that is still occurring in the same way it does today. For current students or someone who was hired in the past, you're still flowing a lot of the same process. You just have the system to help you through these things, okay? When in doubt, they need to go to that office to present their I-9 and they'll say, oh, we already have it all, you don't need to worry about it, right? But they do need to make that step so that they can move through this process. If student employment checks it ahead of time, they can move it forward and you would know, okay? It would say, oh, you're all done and it won't show up in the inbox. Martin says they're working through how the communication is going to continue based on what you get today. So we'll see as we go live if it's direct to your inbox or it's sending back a task, you know, what it looks like in Workday. But yes, they are planning to communicate directly with you to continue you in the loop about how it's going. Okay. Okay, so this is the task they're completing. They're just saying they've scheduled and they hit submit. It's a to-do. To-dos in Workday can be submitted at any time and they don't actually verify that this was done. So the student could actually hit submit and not have scheduled an appointment at the I-9 office, okay? So you need to follow up with them. Oh, okay. I see that you've completed that first step. If we go back a few slides. Oh, I'm going forward. Back.
That's in the summary report.
If we're looking at this one, if it says to do I-9 completion, you can follow up with the student and say, hey, I see your start date is on Monday. Have you scheduled your appointment? It looks like you've made it past and you've got that scheduling done. They go, oh, I didn't know I had to schedule anything. Okay, so, you know, you're getting the drift here of how you might need to help an employee. Okay? Okay, onboarding wave 1. Let's review what's pushed in those tasks. I have it up and I've been working through it. We pushed a forced onboarding to you, so you are not going to get all the same details or information because you're already working here. We just kind of forced it into you, and it will go in waves still. So we have the review documents task. This is asking for tax purposes this is asking for me to do these agreements. I have to agree to them all. Okay, I agree, I agree, I agree. Okay, edit government IDs, I'm needing to edit this. If I was an international worker, I could submit and move this through, and it won't require it. Okay, but it's saying, hey, there's a soft alert here. You didn't attach anything. Are you sure you don't have a social card? Are you sure? Okay, so I could submit this forward. It's asking me for a personal information change. I'm getting that in my inbox. And this is asking if I'm married, my religious status, and so on. These are not optional fields. They do need to configure this. Oh, there's all kinds. That's fine. Oh. You got it. I tried to write LDS. No short word here. President Russell M. Nelson, I'm going to go for that. Okay. Citizen, this is where you're going to start seeing some things. Hey, you said you were a citizen, but you didn't give a social security card. Right? These are all little, I'm starting to understand something feels like I'm missing something. Okay. Oh, I have put the sex and I have put a DOB. Okay. Oh, I have to put something. 0101 2000. Okay. All right, last one in the inbox is a home contact change. Yours should have populated. Notice in their applicant profile or their direct hire, we didn't have an address or phone number. If we click submit, we may get an error. Hey, you didn't do all this stuff. You need to put in a phone number. You need to put in some things, okay? So no, we won't allow them to move past these steps. Okay, it wants the phone type and so on. So go ahead and complete these tasks that you see in wave 1 that are in your inbox. It's saying, you didn't have an address, put an address in.
Well, I saw it like
It does do an address validation on the postal code and a phone validation on the zip, on the area code.
Three 3.5.
3.5.
You have to submit all of them to Gateway 2.
Submit them all.
So that's why I get the
I'll push it to you. You don't have any of your tasks? Okay. It's not an individual task. There are 4 texts to your inbox. They're just sitting there. Home contact change. You've moved forward past where we are right now.
Central to do their background and check. We didn't move that.
That's what that means.
Does it take you right to the I-9 completion?
No, it does not. Because you've already completed an I-9, so you can't complete another one.
Because I'm not seeing it in my thing.
Did you get a bunch of items?
You're not seeing anything? You didn't get any contact change or anything?
No, I don't see the I-9 completion.
You will not see that because you are already a worker.
I know, but we could do.
But yeah, your candidate from last week is actually talking about, we left him sitting in clearance, so you can't move him forward because we didn't do the background check and everything for everyone. Because there's no way to prove like
Yeah. On your activity guide, we asked you to complete task 3. You can't. So just move past it.
So that exercise. Okay.
I know, I wish we had it too. Because, yeah, it goes to a lot of things within Central. It's a lot of other roles we have to do. And so we just started doing a launch onboarding for yourself, actually. I'm going to go launch it. Yeah, so just like this one. Right here. And then just hit.
Hey, Julie, I've just I just launched it. Okay, so you should refresh your inbox, you'll see that. Sure.
They have to be, I have one for you. My personal is the primary. I don't want to have it primary.
What are you saying?
It's showing my personal email.
Why wouldn't you want that as your primary email?
It shows my personal.
If we need to update for WT
Okay.
information, you want us to
Okay,
update.
so this is that.
I don't think they're doing.
Everyone's
But like, wait, one's
So, there's a question about your personal contact information and how it's secure. You cannot see the personal email addresses of people you shouldn't, nor can anyone on campus. However, if there is someone on campus that needs your personal information values, like benefits, then they have your personal information details. But your personal email is not displayed to the whole campus,
Okay.
right?
Mine has public operations.
Yeah, you could change it to private, right? Okay, let's look at wave 2. Okay, again, you can't complete Form I-9 because you're already a worker and we launched onboarding to you. Okay, it's not to your student, it's to you. So you already have your I-9 form done, it skips this task because it's already done. So can you guess what's gonna happen if you rehire? Okay, you're starting to get the vibe. Workday knows you've already completed it, it's skipping the task. Okay. After the complete Form I-9, we get a payment election, state and local tax withholdings, federal withholdings, disability, and veteran status. Okay? Here's the onboarding dashboard. You can type in your search bar the word onboarding, and it would show you this task. Are we all seeing that? Delete. You can go to the gear icon. You can say skip. Or you would need to have it be deleted by a business process administrator. So like if you made a oopsie, and it won't let you get rid of it. Yeah, someone needs to cancel the business process for you. Or rescind it. Not from your printing initiative. Yeah, so this is where you would need to click cancel on this submission. And then you would tell this is
Yeah, she's.
or signature. But you'll just, yeah, you'll put it in case and say, hey, and you take this out. Okay, so your onboarding dashboard will show you your remaining tasks. I know we only have a few minutes left, so we'll just make it through this content. I think it's important for you to know. The complete I-9 form task is completed at the I-9 appointment or ahead of time. Your new hire can start this process at home or on their phone, okay? And what can they do? Well, they can complete their last name, their first name, they could enter their social, they could do everything except for present the ID. So they don't have to wait until they get there to do it, which is really, really nice, okay? When they get there, they will verify the start date and make an update there if they need to, okay? You can view the status of a new hire's I-9 through the onboarding status summary report.
It was nice to meet you.
Okay? Remember the two columns that you have? The onboarding status, see, in progress or completed. Payment election, that's straightforward and you know how that works. Veteran status identification, straightforward, you know how that works. Disability self-identification, straightforward, you know how that works. Okay, yes, no, I don't want to say it. Okay, so we'll look at these tasks in my inbox.
No. And after.
I went back to the wrong person. I'm sorry. Stella. Okay. So you see my task for complete the Form I-9. This isn't something you're responsible for, but it's something you can answer questions about, right? Yeah, you can do that ahead of time. If you have any questions, the Student Employment Office can help you, right? Those kind of things. But at least you can guide them to say, yeah, you don't have to wait till you get there, okay? So here's the information that I populated. Remember, it's bringing in anything it can. So my name, my first name, a middle name if I had populated that. My address is populating because I put my address in. My phone number is populating. So it's nice, right? It's doing a lot of the work for us. Then I'm going to check this box, citizen, which means I should fill out the social security number of whatever it should be. 123, 123, 123. Okay. It will verify that that is not the social security of somebody else that's already working here. Okay. And then we're agreeing and we're moving it forward, okay? I did not use. Okay, and then you can see we're getting our additional steps in our inbox. You're not getting the I-9 step because you've already done yours, so don't worry about that. They're entering direct deposit information and moving through these steps, okay? Complete onboarding wave 2 in your tenant. That's activity 3.6. You can go ahead and do wave 3 too, so that you can see what it looks like. I'll show you what wave 3 looks like in a second. What did you say? Why is it broken into waves? They stage gated it for the first wave. They want you to set your appointment with the I-9 office, and then you can't move into, once you've done that, you can move into the next stage, which is completing I-9. Then once you've completed those ones and your I-9, we're going to launch, now you're a real employee, right? So go get the laptop and go get the other things. The department knows that's an official employee. That's why it's been broken into 3 gates or waves, okay? You get a change emergency contacts task and wave 3. So let's move on to our correct worker start date. If at the time of Student Employment Office, if they have the wrong worker start date, the Unified Operations Center can make an adjustment to the start date. If you make the adjustment ahead of time, they will get the approval to adjust the start date, okay? There are some implications that go to this office. If you were to have someone start and then you correct their start date, it's going to need them to update their I-9, right? So that's why that office gets another task, okay? But if you know their start date's going to change, you don't want them going to the office and them having the wrong date because they're going to change it. But if you do, it's fine. The employment office is going to make the correction. They're also going to ask their standard sleuthy questions, right? When did you start working? Oh, I haven't started yet. I've been volunteering for a month.
Yeah.
So they're going to make some adjustments here, and you're going to get a fine. Okay. So just know that whatever you coach or groom the students to say, they're going to ask all the right questions to make sure that we are in compliance with the law as much as we can be. Okay. So please don't try and trick the employment office. They're going to go through and find this out. And you should be paying people, right? They don't need to be working in unpaid and some weird version of life, okay? It's not fair to students, okay? So they can correct it there, you can correct it there, a manager can correct it. There's like 9 roles that can correct worker start date, okay? But it does have some different steps that go on after this. Okay, so let me show this in the demo of the tenant here. Just so you see what this looks like. Whoops, wrong one. I'm gonna go in as Harper. Okay. And I'm gonna type the task, correct worker start date. Okay. There's a report that shows correct worker start dates, but I need to request a worker start date correction. Okay, and I'm gonna choose the worker, Samantha staff, and the current hire date does list here. And if I say, oh, you know what, that's not right, she actually started yesterday, enter a date that's after the current hire date. Can't do that. Okay, so that would need to go to the Student Employment Office to take care of. Okay. And it's going to go here. Yeah, for right now, it's not going to let you backdate. They have different security than you do.
No, that's a good one.
So that's a good thing. You have the proposed date. It's going to say notify, and you should notify the BYU hiring office. You could notify an HR admin or other people. Okay. And then it went to the I-9 validator to say, go amend the workers form I-9 because I changed the start date, okay? And they're gonna get that to their box and go, oh yeah, I haven't done that yet, perfect. Okay, so that's it. Those are all the steps for today. That's all the information for today as well. You can complete wave 3, yep, wave 2 and 3. Anything that's left in your box, just clear it out so that yours is clear for next week. Okay. Next week we will be covering add additional job. All your questions, bring them all. Bree and Lori are here. Ask more than you want to. You know, just as many as you can come up with. Then job changes. We're going to review these types and ways that you can make a job change: comp, allowance plans, period activity, change job, title change, transfers, and termination. Before you leave, complete your check-in survey to get credit for being here.